Hey. Random little impromptu Q&A. How's everybody doing this Tuesday? It is a very special day in my household because it's the first day that my kids take their ass back to school. It's been a long couple of weeks, man. We had all these movie releases. I had MegaCon, 4 days in Orlando, and then I had a whole week of just me and the children. And man, had to get my taxes done. Spent the last 2 days doing taxes. So I wanted to christen getting back to my normal routine by just having a little shoot the shit session with everybody. So welcome. We'll talk about whatever tickles your fancy. What's up, Sean? Sean Sheridan with $1. Already got a couple super chats. Holy crap. Jace Love, hey, I'm a huge fan of yours. If you were stranded on an island and could only have 5 movies and 5 bands to listen to for the rest of your life, what would your choices be? Do I have power on the island? That's the big question. No, anyway, okay. 5 movies and 5 bands to listen to. Holy shit. I don't know if I just want to pick my top 5 favorite movies because I want to have a little bit of a variety. Die Hard for sure. I'm going to say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, even though that's not my favorite comedy. It's up there, but that's one that I would want to have. For horror, let's say I'm actually going to go The Lost Boys because that's a movie that I can have more fun rewatching constantly versus John Carpenter's The Thing. That's actually my favorite. Let's do Back to the Future. Let's think of an oddball. I'll say Rudderless for now. That's always kind of my go-to, like, hidden gem movie. 5 bands. Oh, Jesus. This is not going to have a variety to it whatsoever because I have very little variety of my music taste. Okay, Metallica, Judas Priest, Alter Bridge. Let's say... I'll throw in Aaron Lewis just to have a little country flavor in there. I'm not a big country guy, but I like his country. And what is a 5th one here? Again, let's have another oddball for something. Do I want to go bold and go back into the past? Do something crazy like Backstreet Boys or some shit just to have something different besides metal. Fuck it. We'll say that. We'll just say Backstreet Boys just because I don't want to sit here on one question too long. But yeah, a little oddball there. I'm just trying to think, like, for the rest of my life, do I want to have the same types of everything or do I want to have some variety? I might wake up one day and be like, ah. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Universal Monsters for 31 on 31. Not too many as far as the choices that we're going to have. No, that is something that eventually I'd like to do a review series and a ranking for, but there's so many vampire and werewolf movies. I mean, we could do a 61 on 61 and still people would be like, why didn't you include this one? So that was one of the reasons we decided to do it this way. So for those that don't know, in the end of May, we're doing another 31 on 31 called Creatures of the Night. It's vampires and werewolf movies. And what's different about this one is that we have all picked 5 movies, and there's an oddball that we threw in there, Brotherhood of the Wolf, because there was some confusion in regards to whether it was a werewolf movie or not. So essentially, I guess I gave Sean 6 picks. So me, CP, and Brian got 5 picks each. Sean got 6 picks, so that took care of 21 movies. And the remaining 10, I have polls right now on the YouTube channel and the community page. We got 2 more that I'm going to drop later on tonight, one at 10 and one at 11. And the top 2 winners from every poll is going to make the ranking. And so there's a ton of really good, interesting movies I'd love to cover. Universal Monsters could almost be a category in and of itself, but I decided not to include any of the Universal Monster, the original movies, the black and white ones, in any polls because I felt like it was just going to create chaos. Because if we included one, then we'd have to include the other. If we got Dracula in there, where's the Wolfman? And then there's the sequels, and there's the Abbott and Costello stuff that Brian pretty vocally was like, nope, can't do that. Fucking hater. So no, it's more modern stuff. A couple of older films, but nothing black and white, unfortunately. But the possibilities are endless. Eventually we'll get back to it. Real quick, we got a MegaCon question. I forgot to ask you this at MegaCon. Hey, Toxic Gamer. And I remember him because he had a shirt. It was a YouTube shirt that said Toxic Gamer 331. Forgot to ask you this at MegaCon. Have you watched the Human Centipede movies? Also, what is your favorite horror movie kill of all time? I've seen pieces of the first Human Centipede. I have no desire to watch the rest of the movie or the other two. Just not really. The video nasty stuff just doesn't really appeal to me. I can go my whole life without hearing, without knowing most of the stuff that's in those movies, without having to actually see it and remember it. It's just, I don't know. This is not really for me. Let me see. Oh shit, I scrolled and now it went way back. Okay, where am I at? Where am I at? There we go. And as far as favorite horror movie kill of all time, there's a lot of good ones. One of my favorites of all time is the like marionette kill from Dream Warriors. Me and Rudy gush about that one, so I'll say that one for right now. Brandon Dotson, who was the worst teacher you ever had in school? Well, it's hard to say because, you know, when you're a kid, when you have a problem of authority or you have a teacher that's harder on you, you inherently don't like them as much. So I don't know if revisiting my time with this teacher with the eyes of an adult would change that, but I can tell you who my least favorite teacher was easily. I was in a program called LEAP started in third grade. And so third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, once a week, one day a week, I had to go to a special school. It was an advanced class where we would go and do a bunch of brain teasers and a bunch of advanced stuff once a week. And once I got into junior high, seventh and eighth grade, it was just a class that I took. And the teacher that we got in seventh and eighth grade, LEAP became just a language arts, advanced language arts class. Her name was Miss Heller or Mrs. Heller. I don't fucking remember. But she was so fucking mean. And I swear it seemed like she favored the girls and just gave unbelievable amounts of shit to all the guys in the class. Her and my personalities just did not mesh very well together at all. I had very, very, very rarely did I have enough problems to where I actually begged my dad to go into school and say something. There was a point where we had to do so many fucking reports and essays and all this shit. And I remember there was a time where I came in and I had my rough draft of my essay or whatever in my folder. My folder was packed so tight that I was trying to pull the paper out and it tore in half. And I showed her, I was like, hey, my report just tore in half, but we're supposed to turn it in. And she looked at me and she said, well, you've got a day to make it look better. And so I took that as, I'm not going to tape this because I refuse to tape it. So you go rewrite the entire thing tonight. Wasn't happy about that, but that's what I did. So I went home that night. I rewrote the entire fucking thing and brought it in the next day and said, here's my draft. She goes, well, your draft was due yesterday. Today, your final copy is due. And I said, you told me I had a day to make it look better. And she said, yeah, well, I wanted the final copy. And so she gave me a 0 on it. And so I had my dad go in and talk with her and the principal, and but just shit came out of that. There's a whole bunch of other stories that went on, but yeah, I could not stand her as a teacher. It just felt like it was just misery every single day. I was not alone. I want to say that I was not alone. There was kids that were with me in LEAP from third grade all the way through to seventh grade, and they said, fuck this, and got out of her class for eighth grade. Clay Woodley, what are your thoughts on Fast 10? While I wasn't a big fan on Fast 8 and 9, I'm looking forward to Fast 10 because they're taking it back to the Fast 5, my favorite in the franchise. I don't care about Fast 10 whatsoever. Look, I was one of the few people that was actually a Fast and Furious fan all the way up to Fast 5. Like a lot of people just dismiss that franchise altogether. I was always a fan of the first one. I always liked the second one, but the second one's my least favorite. Well, was my least favorite, not recently. It was my least favorite for a while. I liked Tokyo Drift more than most people. Me and my best friend got tickets. We went to the theaters like day one to go see when Fast and Furious came out, when they were like finally reuniting, and we were pumped. That was like the Super Bowl for us. So Fast 5 seems to be the moment when most people became Fast and Furious fans, and I was always there. But after Fast 5, which I thought was the best of the franchise, I think that's one of the best action movies ever made, honestly. Fast and Furious 6, I liked a little bit less, got a little bit too over the top. Furious 7 went even further. And then with Paul Walker dead, I was just like, just stop here. Furious 7 was a perfect place to end the series, in my opinion. And they kept going. And then you got the Fate of the Furious, and it was like, okay, now it's just getting really stupid. And you could feel that absence of Paul Walker. Fast 9 or F9, whatever they called it, horrible. Horrible movie. I mean, this is as stupid and as ridiculous and over the top as you felt like the Fast and the Furious movies already were. F9 just like doubled the dumbest shit that they've ever done. And from the trailers of Fast 10, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. I mean, you got helicopters that are latching onto Dom's vehicle, and somehow he's pulling them back down and smashing them into the pavement. And I don't get any enjoyment out of that. Like, I can turn my brain off like anybody else and have stupid fun with a movie, but there's a line. There's a line between entertaining stupid and just there's no rules now. Anything could fucking happen, so I can't engage myself. Like Dom could literally pick up his car and fucking throw it like the Hulk, and it would make sense within the Fast and the Furious movie. Nobody would ask questions. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, he can do that." And so yeah, the trailers for Fast 10 haven't done anything for me. Just that the magic is gone for me with that franchise. I'll still see it day one. I already have my tickets bought. I'll give it a shot. Maybe it'll be better. Hopefully, it'll at least be better than F9. But I like Jason Momoa. I like going back to Fast Five as far as a narrative. That's cool. But it's just a really, really dumb franchise at this point, and I have a really bad gut feeling that they're going to bring back Paul Walker's character somehow. They're going to deep fake his face onto his brother or something. They keep teasing this cliffhanger because they're going to be supposedly concluding everything with Fast 11. And I think they shot them both back to back. I could be wrong about that, but they keep teasing this cliffhanger that's going to leave everybody shook. And what else could they do besides bring back Paul Walker for the one last movie? And just even if the entire Walker family gives the thumbs up to that, it just feels gross to me. So yeah, I don't have much interest in it, unfortunately. Hopefully it's a fun time. Maybe I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but ugh, it just oh, you brought your wife home potato wedges lately? Did I tell that story live? I had to have. That's a deep cut. So yeah, no, I have not. The story he's alluding to is this was probably 2 years ago now. I was off at a movie Thursday night, like I always do, and so they're usually at 7 o'clock. So I usually get out of the movie sometime between 9 and 10. And back before this was before COVID, so it's been a while. Might have been more than a couple of years. But I used to always stop and get myself something to eat on the way home. And like a good husband, I would always call or text and be like, "Do you want anything? You've been sitting at home all night. You should have ate," but sometimes my wife wouldn't. And so there was a particular night where I don't remember what I went to go see, but I called her. I had my heart set on there was this spicy the spicy famous bowl from KFC. They had a spicy version, and spicy chicken, man, that's like my fucking vice. And so I already had my heart set on that. I was like, "Hey, do you want anything?" No, I don't want anything. Okay, good. Click. And I'm driving to KFC. After I get on the highway, she calls me back. "Well, actually, just bring me some French fries. I really want some French fries." Okay, cool. KFC's got potato wedges. It's the same thing. And so I get my food because I haven't eaten dinner. I go all the way home with her potato wedges, French fries, and I'm sitting down. I'm starving. I start eating, and she's like, "Ugh, fucking hate potato wedges. I said French fries," and I'm like, It's potatoes. What's the problem? Potato wedges are awesome. "No, they fucking taste like dirt. I hate them. I wanted French fries. Son of a," and she's just going into ultra bitch mode. I think she's asleep. Ultra bitch mode over some food that I was generous enough to bring to her when I'm the one who hasn't eaten yet. And so that's a story that I bring up all the time. Like, it's just like them fucking potato wedges. But no, I've learned my lesson. She does not like the potato wedges. Apparently, the fries have to be cut small, otherwise they taste like dirt. Oh, Lord. Where do you get your shirts? From multiple places. So Fright Rags is where I've got most of them. I've become a big fan of Gutter Garbs lately. They've been doing a lot of really cool limited edition designs for like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. Cavity Colors and Terror Threads are also two really good companies. So look at all four of those: Fright Rags, Gutter Garbs, Cavity Colors, and Terror Threads. And that's where I get most of my stuff from. Jared Liebergen, how much money do you to get you to do a debrief of the Fantasy 31. Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie franchise, and amongst other disagreements, Brian's placement of A New Hope is the largest disparity of all 31 on 31s. Yeah, just the time, unfortunately, just got away from us with that one. I think that's two of them. One of two of them that we haven't done a debrief. Yeah, Brian's a little crazy. Brian has leaned more and more and more heavily into that contrarian, snooty character that he played for a while there. Like, he would always kind of be pretty mellow, and then once in a while there would be like something that would throw that piece of his personality out. And now that piece of his personality has just consumed all of Brian. So all the way through planning this 31 on 31 Creatures of the Night, we've had little moments of crazy Brian coming out. I think he told somebody earlier today, he was like, I'd be cool if Howl and Interview with the Vampire won this. We don't need the Lost Boys. And I was like, motherfucker, if you speak that into existence, prepare for hell from me. So yeah, Brian he is not a fan of A New Hope. He's made that clear numerous times. I don't remember what other hot take he had with that one. That was kind of a Brian episode too, with doing the fantasy stuff. He's probably more into that than any of us, but yeah, time got away from us. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to it, but I don't know. Do we really want to hear Brian's rationalization for why A New Hope was like what in the bottom 5 or whatever? Do we really want to subject ourselves to such blasphemy? How many times have you been married? This is my first marriage, and it will be my only marriage. Hell or high water, my only marriage. Are you going to do any more playthroughs soon? Yes, I'm currently going through professional mode, trying to get an S plus, and it's extremely frustrating and stressful. So I do not want to do that live because it's already hard enough to concentrate. But when you're trying to entertain and talk to people, you make a lot more mistakes when you're playing live. So once I complete this S plus rank and get the things that I need from that, I still have to play through the game with only pistols and knives, without using a healing element, and without talking to the merchant. And I'm going to try to do all of those on one playthrough. So I do want to do kind of a speed run type playthrough while everybody's watching, trying to do that. So I will play through the game one more time live, and then we'll move on, because I believe that's the last trophies that I need. And then I need to give myself a break. Otherwise I'll burn myself out. Thoughts on the singles for 72 Seasons and your overall hype for the rest of the album? It's I haven't loved them. I liked Lux Eterna. It had a very like kill 'em all vintage flavor to it. I didn't care much for the Screamin' Suicide song, and when Darkness Had a Sun has a good like riff beat to it, but lyrically, it's the vocals that haven't really done much for me on these songs. It feels more like old school thrash, where it's just kind of talking and yelling, and not so much of a melody to it. And I really like vocals, and I think that James has done some really good vocals over the years. And so even 72 Seasons came out. I listened to it once when I was driving to MegaCon, and I was like, yeah, that was fine. So I don't know. The singles don't tend to be my favorite songs in the album, so it doesn't necessarily diminish my hope for the album. But this is the only album that Metallica has released in my lifetime where I have not at least enjoyed the singles. They've kind of been a little dead on arrival for me. I was going to do there's some local record shops all over the US, but there's 2 of them in Savannah that are participating in it, where they're doing the live like first playthrough of the album on vinyl on Thursday night. But unfortunately, I got 3 new releases on Thursday night. I'm doing my first triple feature ever. I'm seeing Nefarious, and then Renfield, and then Pope's Exorcist. And so if I didn't already have a stacked night, I would pop over to Savannah and hang out at a record store and hear the premiere of the album and get some cool swag. But I'm not going to be able to make that. So I'll just listen to it on YouTube Music with everybody else on Friday. But yeah, hopefully it's good. Seems to be that a lot of people are really liking it. Maybe it's just because I'm a 90s Metallica fan above all else, that the old school vintage Metallica stuff's kind of getting lost on me. But yeah, I don't know. The singles aren't really doing much for me. Big wasted opportunity film-wise, I would say Tom Cruise Mummy or the entire DCEU. Yeah, I mean, both of those. The Tom Cruise Mummy, the Dark Universe, is that what they called it? That was a missed opportunity that just got killed right out of the gate, because they don't understand that these creatures are horror creatures, and we want horror films. That you can make them with some action, you can make it with some comedy, but primarily they need to be horror films. And so, as much as I love the Brendan Fraser Mummy, I love that original one, and Mummy Returns is fun too. But those still hold on to a lot of the horror stuff as well. There's some pretty crazy stuff in those movies, and the Tom Cruise Mummy just felt like all popcorn blockbuster action. And it was just like everybody, just in a unified voice, just went, nah. The DCEU, I mean, it could have been something pretty awesome. We still got some awesome stuff out of it, but they just couldn't screw their head on straight. And so I'm excited to see what James Gunn's going to do. I'm well beyond being over and saying goodbye to the DCEU, but we'll see. Did you see the Marvels trailer? I did not. No interest really. I'm burnout on Marvel, on superhero stuff, so I don't really care. The Captain Marvel is one of my least favorite MCU films. It has nothing to do with Brie Larson. I'm not one of those guys. It's just I didn't think the movie was very good. I did not watch Miss Marvel, the TV show, and so when you put those two characters together, there's not really anything for me there. It comes out, November? So, I mean, I'll still see it, but that might be the first Marvel movie where I actually go in blind and don't watch any of the trailers unless I inevitably see the trailer at the movie theater, which is pretty safe bet. But no, I did not watch the trailer. Had no interest in it. I was like, oh yeah, moving on. One more month of graduation. Oh man, buckle up, dude. Buckle up. Adulthood is starting and it sucks. Congratulations, though. Have you ever seen a season of Total Drama? I have never even heard of it, but judging by your name, you're a big fan. No, I have no idea what Total Drama is. No clue whatsoever. Oh, hello, good sir. In your opinion, if you think Guardians 3 sucks or is mediocre, will you jump off the MCU train? James Gunn has not made a bad or mediocre film, in my opinion, so I'm not that worried myself. No, I mean, it's going to take a lot for me to just full on abandon the MCU to where I just don't watch or cover their stuff anymore. I'm just not really all that pumped or excited. And I have faith that they're going to see a lot of people feeling that way and go, we need to change some shit. But no, I would be shocked if Guardians 3 sucks. I mean, I'm not going to be totally shocked if it's mediocre, but I'll be shocked if it sucks. I'm not a huge fan of Guardians 2, but it's still a very watchable movie. But I have a feeling that James Gunn has a point to make, and he's going to make it. So I'm looking forward to it. I actually bought tickets for the world's tallest IMAX theater in Pooler, Georgia, of all places, where they're doing a marathon of all three of the Guardians movies on Wednesday, whatever the Wednesday before the movie releases, on the 3rd, I believe, May 3rd. So they're playing back-to-back Guardians 1, Guardians 2, and then starting Guardians 3 at midnight. So that's going to be a long fucking night of movies. That's like almost 7 hours at the movie theater. I'm going to be so sick of movies by the end of like May, because I've got 2 weeks where there's multiple new releases, and then I got a triple feature there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be good. How tall are you? I'm 6'1". Everybody who meets me in person always tells me I'm much taller than they thought I'd be. Do you think you'll review the indie films before 5? I plan to. Certainly plan to. When does it come out? Let me see. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. What is your release date? June 30th. Plenty of time. Yeah, for sure. Easily. So this is me announcing a future announcement that I'll be doing the Indiana Jones review series. Let's see. If the kids enjoyed a movie, does that affect your ranking or overall experience? Not necessarily. I mean, it's more fun to see a family movie if my kids are having fun with it. It's the same thing as if you go see a movie and the crowd is really into it. There hasn't been too many movies that I've genuinely disliked that my kids have liked. They tend to vibe pretty well with what I'm getting out of it to a certain extent. But we had a really good time with Mario. I probably enjoyed Mario more having seen it with them and seeing how much fun it was for them than if I just watched it by myself, but I still would have enjoyed the movie. So Will it affect my overall experience? Maybe slightly, but not enough to like really be a significant change. Ugh, like a hiccup going on. Oh man. Steven with $1. Well, not $1. One of something. I don't know what that symbol is. Appreciate it, sir. Would you ever do a review series for the Tales from the Crypt film starting with the 1972 original? I didn't even know there was a 1972 Tales from the Crypt. I thought it was a 90s thing. I don't know. Never say never. It's not necessarily an idea that's high on my priority list at the moment. I really like Demon Knight. I've only seen it once though. Bordello of Blood. I got really excited after how much I liked Demon Knight, and I put in Bordello of Blood. I couldn't even finish it. So, maybe one day I'll review them. I'll certainly review Demon Knight at some point, but I don't know about a review series. You excited for Barry season 4? Absolutely. Absolutely. I watched that show for the very first time last year in the summertime. Well, right about fall. And then whenever I went to go stay with Uncle Sean, I got him and his wife into it. So I watched about half the series again with them. And I've reached out to a couple of people that helped me out with The Last of Us to see if I could get some screeners, but I haven't heard back. So I'm not holding out any hope for that. But yes, I can't wait. And I told Henry Winkler I couldn't wait. So that was pretty cool. Let's see here. Did you see The Pope's Exorcist? I'm seeing it on Thursday. It's the third of 3 movies that I'm looking at on Thursday. I don't have a lot of hope for it because I'm just kind of burnt out on the Exorcist subgenre, but we'll see. Sometimes a movie can surprise you. Sean Sheridan, what is a movie that nearly got made that you wish got made? Mine would be James Cameron's Spider-Man. Thoughts on Equilibrium 2002? I don't have a ton of knowledge of movies that almost got made. I know that some of the ones that everybody knows, like the Nicolas Cage Superman. I'd be fascinated just to see what that would look like. Spider-Man 4, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 would probably be my answer, just because I love that trilogy. And even though I felt like it was time for Sam Raimi and others to move on, I still would want to see what that movie would have looked like. Thoughts on Equilibrium 2002? I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I always liked it. That was one of the reasons that I was excited to see, well, not excited, that I was somewhat cautiously optimistic about, was it Children of the Corn? The one that guy did? I'm pretty sure it was Children of the Corn, because he was the director of Equilibrium, and but it's a cool movie. You know, it's a cool, interesting idea, taking a little bit from Fahrenheit 451, mixing in with a little bit of like prototype Matrix stuff in there, and it's a pretty cool little flick. How has your fitness been? How's the gym been? It's been going pretty good, but I fell off the wagon whenever I was at MegaCon. I didn't go to the gym and didn't eat like that healthy when I was at MegaCon. And so that in the week afterwards, where I was just exhausted from travel and spending time with my kids, taking them to the movies twice, I haven't been that strict on it for the past week and a half. But today I went back to the gym, and I'm slowly kind of weaning back into my eating habits. And so, yeah, getting back on track, but it's been going good. I had like 4 or 5 people in person at MegaCon tell me that they could tell I've lost a lot of weight and I was looking muscular. I saw a couple of people post it like on pictures and stuff. So that made me feel good. It made me feel good. Does Snake Eater make it into your top 10 games? If it doesn't, it's damn close. I haven't actually sat down and done like a top 10 video games. I need to do that sometime. The original Metal Gear Solid's my favorite of all time, and Snake Eater is my second favorite in that franchise, easily by a landslide. So, yeah, if it doesn't make my top 10, I would be shocked if it didn't make my top 15. That's a fantastic game. But all these rumors that they're fucking remaking Snake Eater before they remake the original, stop that shit. Fucking Konami doing that bullshit with Silent Hill, and now you're going to do it with Metal Gear Solid 2. What the fuck are you on? Remake them in order. Thoughts on the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks, and thoughts on No Country for Old Men. I've actually never seen Philadelphia. I've actually never seen it. It looks like a pretty good movie, just never really been on my priority list. No Country for Old Men, I love them. I've grown to appreciate the ending. I used to fucking hate the ending. I still don't think it's the best way to end that movie. They try to keep it ultra faithful to the book, and sometimes you got to adapt shit because what works on a book doesn't necessarily work in a movie. So I think everything up to that ending is fucking phenomenal, though. It's a really good movie. Got a lot of great tension, some great characters. Like Anton Chigurh is one of the best villains ever. So yeah, No Country for Old Men's actually not that I've seen a ton of their work, but it's easily my favorite Coen Brothers movie. Oh, are you excited for Evil Dead Rise? I am. I'm hearing nothing but great things. So I'm very excited. Seems like it's going to be yet another damn good Evil Dead movie. Let's see. Why no love for Guns N' Roses? Okay, let's see. 30 minutes in. All right, everybody pause super chats for the next 45 minutes. So, no. All right. Guns N' Roses. Look, Guns N' Roses has some awesome music. You can't take anything away from them. And Appetite for Destruction, easily one of the greatest rock albums ever made. Sorry, my nose sometimes when I get to talking starts to itch and tickle and all that. Sometimes it's my mustache or whatever. So if I'm doing this, I don't have a Coke habit. It's just because I'm talking a lot. But yeah, all of that being said, Guns N' Roses are one of the most overrated bands ever for me because for two main reasons. Number one, they basically live their entire legacy off of Appetite for Destruction. And I'm so fucking sick of hearing four songs: Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, and November Rain. November Rain, I actually just full on despise. I don't like that song whatsoever. The other three are great songs, but I'm so sick of hearing them that I can't appreciate it. And as soon as I hear them, I want to turn the radio off or switch songs or turn the volume down. They're the most overplayed rock songs ever to me. And you've got some really good stuff off of the Use Your Illusion albums that are some of their best songs as well. And a lot of songs off of Appetite for Destruction that never get any airplay that are awesome too, like Night Train, You Could Be Mine, and Rocket Queen, and Don't Cry off of Use Your Illusion is one of my favorite songs. Like all of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs never get played. It's always the same fucking four. And beyond all of that, like for decades, it was like, when are they going to get a reunion? When are they going to do a reunion? And you had Axl and Slash saying it's never going to fucking happen. And then it finally happened. And what have they been doing? They've been touring and just fucking writing checks all day long with all the money that they're getting. And they have not written a single fucking song. Like you're just going to tour off of the same songs that you've been touring off of for 40 fucking years. You can't do a new album. And so just, there's so many things about that band that just frustrate the shit out of me. Very talented musicians. They've written some of the most popular music of all time, so you can't take anything away from their success. But 9 times out of 10, when they're being played, I want to immediately change the channel. Let's see here. Why buy Blu-rays of movies you'll only watch once? Well, more times than not, when that happens, the first time that I watch it is after I've bought it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm probably never going to watch this again. Very rarely, if ever, will I buy a movie if I don't ever have the desire to rewatch it again, unless it's just a really damn good movie that I just want to have in my collection. For me, it's, especially when you got a collection my size, it's more so of just kind of creating a library for my kids to be able to pull from, for me to be able to pull from for the rest of my life, or whatever. Just always having it there. I love having all the streaming services and everything at my fingertips, but I like that more. I like being able to physically pull it off the shelf, no matter whether my internet works or not, or they take it off the service or not. I've got it there, preserved forever. So it's one of those two reasons. I either buy it and then realize I'm never going to watch it again, or it's just so damn good that I want to have it available for either my kids to watch, my wife to watch, or me. Maybe one day I will watch it a second time. Doesn't appeal to him, but he loves Terrifier 2 now after meeting everyone at that fest. Well, what is that even in response to? Because that is false. I didn't meet anybody at the fest. I I literally shook the hand of Damian Leone and of David Howard Thornton as I was walking out the door and just said, "Good job, I enjoyed it." So I don't know. See, fucking people like that, man. That's just that's what kills me. If I didn't like the movie, what the fuck would meeting somebody change about that? Your movie sucked, but I get to take a picture with you, so I'm gonna make it seem like your movie's awesome. Genuinely thought Terrifier 2 was significantly better than the first film, as do most people. You ever listen to the band Caius? I've never heard of Caius, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. What is your favorite Ozzy Osbourne song to listen to on Halloween? I don't particularly listen to Ozzy Osbourne on Halloween, but my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song. Wow. I see that's another one. A lot of his songs are overplayed too. Fucking Crazy Train. I'll be happy if I never hear that song again for the rest of my life. Mom, I'm coming home. Sick of that one. No More Tears. Sick of that one. Um, shit. You know what song that I think is kick ass that never gets played from Ozzy is Mr. Tinker Train. That's the opening for No More Tears. I really like that album. But I really like that song. So we'll pick that one. I haven't listened to Ozzy in a while, so I might have a different answer if I listen to some of his stuff, but going off memory. Thanks for recommending The Shield. That show was awesome. So it was cool. I actually when I was at MegaCon, I got to meet Carl Weathers for a few minutes. And so I stood in his line and I'm sitting there trying to think of what I can ask him. What can I talk to him about that hasn't been said 1,000 times just today? And so I knew everybody's going to ask him about Apollo. Everybody's going to ask him about Predator. And then you're going to get the Star Wars nerds. They're going to ask about Mandalorian. So I'm sitting there thinking of all the other things that he's done. And I realized he was in a couple of episodes of The Shield. And I was like, well, shit, that'd be a good thing to ask him. So I walk up and, I shake his hand. Hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Weathers. I'm Cody. And he's signing my two pictures that I wanted to get. And I said, I'm a huge fan of a lot of your work, especially the older stuff. I love the Rocky movies. It was kind of a generational thing to where my dad loved it. And then he introduced it to me. Then I loved it. And then I introduced it to my kid. And now we go see the Creed movies together. And he's like, oh, that's cool. That's good, man. That's cool. And, talked about the Predator a little bit because the second picture I was getting signed was for a friend of mine, the guy that married me and my wife, whose Predator is his all-time favorite movie. And then I quickly went and I threw him for a loop. I said, so what do I got to do to get you and Chickless to do like a reboot of The Shield? And he goes, oh man, Chickless. Yeah. And then he goes on to this little couple of minute story about how he ran into Chickless at the golf course when he was doing some event, I assume because of Happy Gilmore. But it was cool because I threw something in there he probably doesn't get to talk about very often. But yes, if you haven't seen The Shield, check it out. It's a fucking awesome show. Fan here from Australia. Have you seen Wolf Creek? Cool. All the way from down under. Have I seen Wolf Creek? I've seen most of the first film. That was a movie that I rented when I actually worked at a video store when I was 16 or 17. And I brought it home to watch with my parents, and my dad was being a finicky little bitch. And so he was sitting there just nothing's fucking happening in this movie. This is boring. And I guess got fed up with his fit that he was throwing at the time. We were like 20 minutes into the movie. And so I just took the DVD out and I never finished it. I saw pieces of the movie later on like HBO or Cinemax or something like that. I've never sat down and watched it from start to finish, but I've seen all the money shot stuff. I've seen after all the carnage starts, and I don't know if it's really my type of movie. It kind of belongs in that torture porn era, and that's just not really my thing. At some point, I'm sure I'll probably review it or check it out, but that is my one experience with Wolf Creek. Top 5 modern horror films. Oh, Jesus. These are hard to do off the cuff, guys. So X would certainly be in there. I feel like Barbarian would be too. Like the last 15 years, that's a long fucking time. The Evil Dead remake. Let's see, how long ago was 15? Evil Dead remake. Okay. Shit, I don't know. There's 3. It's hard unless I literally sit here and search and pull up all the movies. It's hard for me to think of it off the top of my head, but those are some really good ones. I had a constant substitute who was the absolute worst authority figure I ever had to deal with in school. Yeah, we've all had our share. Have you heard of the new horror movie Malum? It's a remake of The Last Shift from 2014. Have you seen it? Actually, I have seen it. I did not have enough time to do a review, nor would I want to do a review because I didn't have the best circumstances to watch it in, and so I don't want to judge the movie too harshly because the circumstances I watched it in were not in its favor. So when I was at MegaCon, it was the second day, so it was either Friday or Saturday. Both days were exhausting, and we got back to the hotel, and I talking on Instagram. The one of the producers of the movie actually reached out to me because he was a producer on the Child's Play remake and remembers that I was one of the few people singing its praises. So he reached out to me, wanted to check out the movie, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect," because I wanted to check out Malum, but I couldn't find any theater around me that was playing it. It was all like 2, 3 hours away, and I just wasn't going to do that. And so I was like, absolutely, I want to check this thing out. But unfortunately, I only had 24 hours of access to the screener. So I had to watch it that night. After spending all day at MegaCon, I'm physically and mentally exhausted. And I have to watch it on my laptop screen. And for those that have never watched a press screener, when you do this for security reasons, they will put your name and or your email address in text across the video somewhere. Usually it's maybe in a corner somewhere. It might be a watermark somewhere, but this was all the way across the middle of the screen. Like, look at the screen that I'm on. This is all just Cody Leach and my email address. And it was all in bold text. And so a good portion of the picture was kind of obscured because of that. And so I watched the movie on probably the worst context you could. I liked it. I didn't love it. I've never seen Last Shift, so I can't compare it to that one. But the movie was definitely creepy in spots. There was more than a few times where something happened that I was like, "Oh shit, that took a turn." There's some really good practical effects towards the end of it too, once you start getting into some of the more gory stuff. But it's one of those movies very similar to Oculus, and I had a very similar problem with that where it gets so deep and heavy into the distorted reality theme to where there's things happening and you can't tell if it's reality or if it's an apparition or a hallucination or what, and it gets so heavy with that confusion. Man, I got the hiccups bad. It gets so heavy with that confusion that eventually I just get numb to it and I just assume everything is real and everything is not real all at once. And I kind of disengage from the story a little bit. And that happened to me about halfway through Malum, where there was just so much craziness going on where I'm like, I don't know what's real and what's not real. So I'm just going to just watch what's happening. And even by the end of the film, it was just like, okay, did that happen? Did that not happen? So I think there's people that are going to really love it, especially if you're a fan of Last Shift. Apparently, it's pretty similar, just with some substantial changes. But I really want to check the movie out again. I want to wait till it's on VOD and watch it in a better context before I ever really talk about it much. I do talk about it briefly on my March movies ranked video, which will be coming out in a couple of days. Really behind on that one. But yeah, this I didn't want to review the film because I don't feel like my review would be fair to it, just because of the context I had to watch it. But I did see it. New subscriber. What's up, little Sim? Hey, Cody, I was wondering if you would be interested in doing a convention in Las Vegas, Nevada, just like you did in Orlando, Florida. I mean, it all depends because uh, th- we did MegaCon the way that we did with the group that we did to try to really make a big splash to have like a YouTuber focus at fan expos and at cons. We were told it was extremely impressive, the amount of people that we drew. And so really the future is kind of in their hands to a degree, the people that actually sign the checks for all of that. Um, MegaCon in and of itself, with meeting everybody, the actually performing the panels, even doing some of the actual just consumer stuff, going and checking out some of the celebrities and getting pictures and everything, was a great experience. As somebody who was technically working the con, it was not a very good experience for me, and a couple of others, because there's just such a big disconnect between the higher ups that are signing the checks and making the decisions and signing off on certain things and what we were trying to do. Like, not to get too specific, but like they only viewed Sean as the YouTube star, and all the rest of us that were with Sean were just other guys. And so we didn't have a table, we didn't have a sign with our name on it, we weren't on any social media posts. We weren't even allowed to go in the green room behind the creator stage, which is literally just like a curtain with some Walmart tables and free water behind us. Like there was a lot of really stupid things going on that just kind of made you feel a little subhuman that were free. It didn't cost them anything to just make people feel wanted. So the hope was that in the future, because of the amount of people that we drew and the success that we did, is that wherever they have these fan expos, whether I don't know if they do it in Las Vegas, but California, Colorado, Chicago, whatever, that there'll be more of a focus and more of an opportunity to do stuff like that. And hopefully also they'll pay for travel and everything because they didn't do that this time. I paid for my own travel. Sean covered our hotel, but if he didn't, we would have paid for our own hotel, paid for our own food. And so it all depends on where that conversation goes in the future. Otherwise, as much as I love doing it, as much as it was really fun to meet everybody, and I would love to travel to Las Vegas and California and all these other places, it's not financially viable for those of us that don't live near those areas to do that because you're paying your way and you're losing money the entire time that you're there because you're not creating content or doing anything actually for your job just to have this fun experience. So it just depends. It depends on where the actual corporate side of things go in the future based off of what we did in MegaCon. So you'll know something when I know something. Favorite character in season of Sons of Anarchy. Favorite season was season 2. Season 2, and favorite character was Opie. Ever broken a bone before? I broke my collarbone when I was really young, too young to remember it, and ever since then, no. I've actually, knock on wood, have never broken a bone. Let's see. Love your channel. What are your thoughts on the Consultant series with Christoph Waltz? I've never heard of it. A lot of things tonight you guys are bringing up I've never heard of. Christoph Waltz is awesome. I've loved most of the things I've seen him in, but no, if he's got like a TV series or something, I've actually never even heard of it. So I'll have to check that out. What happened to your background music that you used for a few years? Also, if you know what the original song is, I would love to know to get myself. That was a creative decision by me not too long ago to stop doing that because I like to make videos the way that I would want to watch them. That's always kind of been my philosophy, is to make something that I would be entertained by. And while I liked some of that background music, and I've changed it once or twice before I just got rid of it altogether, I found that, background music works best when it's a loop. It's a finite amount of music that just loops over and over and over again. And because a lot of my content is longer form, I personally felt like the music got repetitive to the point that it was actually kind of grating. Like I would listen to some of my videos sometimes just to kind of proof watch them before I would post them publicly, and I would find myself focusing eventually on just the repetitive nature of the background music, and it would kind of aggravate me a little bit. So I stopped using them because I couldn't find any background music that didn't give me that experience. So I know there's some people that preferred it without, some people like it with the background music. But just for me personally, I took it away because I didn't personally like it after a while. It just kind of it wore thin on me. And so maybe one day I'll go back to it. I try to use background music more on the video game channel because I've noticed that much, much more so than on the movie space. All the video game channels all have background music. That seems like kind of a prerequisite for that audience to a certain degree. So I keep something on there because it feels like it's more appropriate. Whereas the movie space, it's more so just it's my discussion, my conversation, my commentary that is kind of the draw. And so that was kind of my philosophy with it. Please don't ask about this anymore. Thank you. Cody, you are the most sexy YouTuber in town. Do you like Grace Randolph? Well, thank you, sir. I don't personally know Grace Randolph, so I don't want to say anything about it. I don't like her because do I like her on-screen persona? Do I like her channel? Do I like the way that she decides to do discourse? No. But I don't know if that's actually her as a person. Something that you'll find out about if you start to meet and discuss things with a lot of YouTubers is that it's a good amount of YouTubers and content creators that create a character, and they're playing a character when you watch them on their channel. Sometimes it's completely different than who they are. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a heightened version of who they are. But I have a hard time believing that Grace Randolph is 100% that. I mean, just the way that she talks feels like a cartoon. But no, I've never watched her channel religiously. I've seen some of her older videos and thought she was okay with back in the day. Now she's just like this scooper that likes to dunk on all of the people in Hollywood and act like she knows everything that's going on. And maybe sometimes she does, but it just kind of gets annoying constantly seeing her throw some scoop out there and having the filmmakers debunk it and then having her dunk on the actual filmmakers that made the movie. And it's just like, okay, that level of narcissism is what gives all of us a bad reputation. Ugh. Do you ever think they will make a really good Resident Evil movie? I don't fucking know, man, because it seems like they're ready to bend it over again. You got this Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City coming out, or no, excuse me, Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles. And anybody that knows the Resident Evil games, the Umbrella Chronicles are Wii games that are just light shooter, little linear experiences that are going through some of the stories of a couple of games, and they're not fan favorites. So the fact that they're just yet again and got Paul W.S. Anderson producing it, it just feels like another thing where they're just trying to squeeze a couple of bucks out. And that is the simplest fucking video game series to adapt. I'm not saying the process itself would be easy, but the actual concept of what to do is so fucking simple that it frustrates the shit out of me that they can't get it right. Make a limited TV series, especially after the success that The Last of Us just had. Make a limited TV series, 6 to 8 episodes, and every season you focus on one of the games. First season, Spencer Mansion and Wesker and the Tyrant and Stars and all of that shit. Season 2, Raccoon Police Department, Jill Valentine, or not, excuse me, not Jill Valentine, Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, the Mr. X, and all of that. And you can do a season 3 and have Jill Valentine and the Nemesis, or you could even incorporate both of those into an extended season and tell both stories simultaneously. Then you got Code Veronica, you got Resident Evil 4. It's an idea that fucking writes itself, and it sustains the show for at least 8 seasons. And they can't get it right. Fuckers. Why wasn't Andy Barclay in Bride or Seed? I imagine they just didn't want to go that direction anymore after 3 movies and after the reception of Child's Play 3, which I'll never understand. Eventually, when Don Mancini got full control, he kind of wanted to start going back and revisiting a lot of the older characters, but I think they just wanted to go in a different direction for a few movies. But I don't know. You have to ask Alex Vincent, because I don't know. Maybe they offered it to him and he didn't want to do it, and then that's why you got Bride and Seed the way that they were. I have no clue. Have you seen The Void? It's a horror movie with awesome practical effects. Highly recommend it. I agree on the practical effects. I don't agree on it being, well, you didn't say it was an awesome movie. I don't think it was a very good movie. It had very good practical effects, but it bored the piss out of me. Interesting idea, very Lovecraftian type style there. Some throwback to like The Thing style practical effects, but did not really enjoy it. I fell asleep twice trying to watch it. Are you looking forward to Renfield? Yes. On Thursday, I'm doing a triple feature where I'm seeing Nefarious, Renfield, Pope's Exorcist. Renfield is the one movie of the 3 that I have the most faith in. Have you seen Invincible? Is that the cartoon series with the evil Superman? I have not. There's way too much evil Superman shit coming out nowadays. I've heard it's good. Animation's not really my go-to, first of all, but there's also The Boys, and then we had Bloodburn and some other stuff, Bloodborne. And so the evil Superman trope is literally becoming a trope at this point. What are your thoughts on biopics, and are you looking forward to seeing the one they're doing on Michael Jackson? Some biopics are fascinating. The issue is the ones that really, really fuck with the actual facts and just kind of make like this glossy puff piece for whoever they're doing the movie on. I don't want that. I want to know the dirty details. I want to know the gritty stuff. I want to know the tragedy that's involved and the debauchery and all that. So That's one of the reasons why I don't want a Metallica biopic anytime soon. Certainly not while the band members are alive, because they're the first ones to make a movie. They're going to have creative control over it, and they're going to be the good guys the entire time. Fucking David Mustaine and Jason Newsted will be the villains of the movie. I don't want that. Am I looking forward to the one about Michael Jackson? I don't know. That one's complicated. That one's very complicated because while Michael Jackson was certainly the king of pop, and while there's a lot of story to be told about his career as a musician that would be fascinating, one of the biggest. What the fuck was that? Just push something off the back of my desk. One of the biggest pieces of that guy's legacy is the allegations towards him. That is still a debate to this day of did he, didn't he? And so, how do you address that? And you can't make a movie without addressing it. So I don't know. That one's complicated. I would not want to be in charge of it. Are you telling me that 10 isn't the end? Holy shit, I'm almost an hour behind. Sorry, guys. Hey, Cody, just wondering, what is your overall feelings for Hogwarts Legacy? If you're a Harry Potter fan, I imagine it's fucking incredible. It's a very fun game with a very cool open world, but it's a shame that they stuck it in a period of time where we were getting all these other releases. You know, we had Dead Space, and then we had the PSVR 2, and then Resident Evil and all that. Like, Hogwarts Legacy is a game that I would like to come out in one of those times where we have like a 3-month lull with nothing coming out. They're absolutely garbage at staggering video game releases. Movies, they do a pretty decent job with it, but video games, man, it feels like you just get everything in a couple of months, or you go half a year with nothing. And maybe that's just because of the types of games that I like, but that happened to me last year. Like, I created the Game Chamber channel when all this shit was coming out. I had all this stuff to talk about for like 3 months, and then the rest of the year there was like nothing. And I was just sitting here going, there's nothing to fucking cover. There's no new games unless I just make up some rankings. And so Hogwarts Legacy, I only got to play it for maybe 20 hours or so, and then my attention got diverted to everything else to stay current, and I didn't feel like I experienced enough of the game to actually give it a fair review, because it's a very long and very deep game. But judging off of what I have played, it's a very, very good game. Oh, let's see. Morbius has a scene with a song that tells the viewer to have sex, aka something they should have been doing instead of watching the film. Fun piece of trivia there, Pool Stroke. What are games everyone likes but you dislike? Call of Duty. Just in general. Now, I don't want to be a complete hypocrite because I have played a little bit of Call of Duty with old Charles. CP is really into Call of Duty, and he needed me to help him with a couple of missions, and so I downloaded the game and played with him a little bit. And it's fun every once in a while if I just want to hang out with CP and shoot some people on a game, to be honest with you. But in general, I think that Call of Duty has not been very good games. I'm more of a story guy, so I'm not really big into the multiplayer, with the exception of like Halo Infinite. I love that multiplayer. And the single player experience to Call of Duty is notoriously for a long time been an absolute afterthought. And I also had a bit of a scarring experience when I was in college for a year, and my roommate would play Call of Duty Modern Warfare from sun up to fucking sundown. He would wake me up playing it. He would keep me up playing it. And it was always on, to where you could not even walk into the living room unless you just wanted to watch somebody play Call of Duty. And so that kind of started me off in a very cantankerous stage for that franchise. But yeah, for the most popular video game franchise by a landslide, I'm not a fan. Will you be doing all the reviews for Mission Impossible and Indiana Jones? I will be doing Indiana Jones. I don't know about Mission Impossible. When does that come out? I know it's summertime. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning Part 1, and it comes out July 14th. It's possible, but not a promise. Indiana Jones for sure I will do, because there's still one more Mission Impossible movie after this, and I would probably be more inclined to review the series before Dead Reckoning Part 2, because that's supposed to be the end of the franchise, and it's a more appropriate time to kind of go back and celebrate the whole franchise. So I will say there's a 25% chance that I will do that, but Indiana Jones for sure. Any neat interactions with the celebrities you met at the con last weekend? Yeah, I mean, so I just told a story about Carl Weathers. That was enjoyable. Henry Winkler was absolutely the standout to me. And so basically, what happened, it was Friday, and it was the first day we did the one panel that day. And per usual, Sean's line of people that want to meet and greet him is 5 times longer than everybody else's. And so Flickinger and Austin Burke and 3C all had kind of just dipped out at some point because their lines were done and they didn't want to stand around. So they just left. And so it was just me and Sean left meeting people. And it got to a point where I had met everybody that had showed up and I was hanging out for a little bit. And I looked over at Sean. He still had like 18 people in line. And I was like, okay, fuck him. I'm going to meet Apollo Creed. And so I left him. I met Carl Weathers. I turned around and Henry Winkler's line only had like 5 or 6 people in it compared to the 40 people that I just waited in line with for 45 minutes to meet Carl Weathers. And so I jumped over to his line and he was shaking the hands of everybody in line waiting. Thank you for waiting. And you know, he's got that reputation for being like the sweetest person ever. And he certainly earned it whenever I met him. So it was finally my turn. And he comes up to me and shakes my hand and I introduce myself and he kind of puts his hand on my back and leads me over to the table and says, which one would you like? Because when you go to these cons, they just have pictures of these people's entire career and you pick which one you want to have them sign for you. And so every time I go to one of these cons, of which I've been to 2 now, both MegaCon, I always try to get something to bring my dad back. Last year I got him Chris Sarandon, and this year I wanted to get him the Fonz. And so I picked the old picture of the Fonz. I said, I'll take that one. It's going to be for my father. His name's Rich. And so he was signing my dad's name and writing on it. And he wrote, Rich is cool, signed Henry Winkler, the Fonz. And so I was talking to him while he was signing it. And I said, yeah, Mr. Winkler, I said, you're my dad raised me on some of the older shows like Happy Days, and you know, as I grew up, then you were in a lot of the Adam Sandler movies that I always loved to watch. I said, and now here I am, 33 years old, and I know you as Mr. Cousineau. I said, so your career has been there my entire life. And he's like, oh, that's wonderful. And he was signing it, and he handed it to me, and I said, I'm gonna get a picture too, because some of these you can do like a 2-for-1. You can not that it's buy one get one, you have to pay, but it's a discount to get both. So I'm going to get a picture too. And he goes, oh, yes, yes, click. And he goes, oh, that would be a pleasure. And so we took the picture that that everybody saw on social media, on Facebook and everything. And then after the picture, whatever, I was telling him, I said, all right, man, I said, it was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Winkler. Thank you. And I said, I can't wait to see season 4. And it was the cutest thing. Like, we're surrounded by thousands of people. And so I told him, I can't wait to see season 4. And he looks around almost like he's telling me a secret. He goes, you know what? They let me see the first 4 episodes last week, and it's awesome. And it just lit me up. It just lit me up. I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch it. So he was so enjoyable to meet. And then the only other person that I got to meet was Anthony Michael Hall. So it was Sunday. It was the last day of the con. Saturday, we had no time to meet anybody. We had 2 panels, 2 meet and greets. So all we had time to do was take the Scream picture, of which you don't actually get to meet them. It's so fucking quick, which is the only thing that's just kind of sucks because you got to pay so much money for that fucking picture. But it's great to have, especially the fact that I got all of us, you know, our YouTube group together, minus Chris. Chris paid to get his own picture, Mr. Independent. But, you know, just to have a picture of me, Sean Flickinger, and Austin Burke was cool enough. But then you throw in the whole Scream cast, and I had to give the extra $50 to get Winkler in there. And so it's a cool thing to have. It's a great memory. When I have it on my wall eventually, it's going to be a really great thing to have in here. But it sucks that you pay that much money and you don't even get to say a word to them. And I said, fuck that. I took my shot. And so that they're literally just pumping people in and out. And so I'm next in line, and she goes, all right, you, when you see the flash of that camera go off, you stand right at that tape and smile immediately. I'm like, okay, pop. And I walk over. I said, what's up, guys? And I stand there, and I'm right in front of Matthew Lillard. I feel his hands on my shoulders. I immediately start smiling. Pop, they take the picture, and I pop around, and I point at Jamie Kennedy, and I go, you've been X'd. And he goes, yes. And I was like, I love that. So I didn't give a fuck. They were like, don't talk, just move. And I'm like, fuck you. I paid $450 for this picture. I'm saying something. And so I took my shot and just said something to Jamie Kennedy. So didn't get a chance to walk up to any of their tables, but that was still a fun memory. But yeah, the next day, Sunday, me and Sean met Anthony Michael Hall, and he had no line. A lot of these kind of 80s stars, you'll notice, don't have big lines. That's all the modern stuff. But that's all the stuff that I'm most interested in. That's all the movies and the TV shows and everything that I love. So I would wait in a line for 45 minutes to meet Anthony Michael Hall over the Cobra Kai people who had hour-long waits. So he had nobody in line, and so I kind of walked up with Sean. I said, "You want to meet Anthony Michael Hall?" And Sean's a little more standoffish with this stuff because the way he says, I don't really know what to say that they haven't heard before. So I think he's more hesitant. Where I just want to meet them. I don't care. So we walk up, and I was like, is he still taking autographs? Because I wasn't sure if there was no line or if he was packing up. And she goes, "Oh no, yeah, go ahead." So I was searching, trying to find a picture for Weird Science because that's my favorite movie with him. Couldn't find it, and so I just pointed to one from Breakfast Club. And as soon as they grabbed it, I was like, "Oh, never mind, right here!" And it was the one with the bras on their heads. And so he was really cool. Shook my hand, asked my name, started signing the picture for us. I started very similar to the other two. Just started telling me, grew up on a lot of the John Hughes stuff, and he seemed really humble and appreciative and genuine. And I told him, I said my parents were big fans of the Dead Zone when I was, a teenager, so I saw a lot of that show as well. I said, and then I said I have a YouTube channel where I talk about a lot of horror films. So when Halloween Kills came out, I got to talk about you all over again, and started talking about my kids and how I'm getting them into the John Hughes stuff, and talking about how my youngest is already into horror, so she'll probably know him more from Halloween than she will the John Hughes stuff. And he's like, "Oh, really? The crazy one came out last." And so he was cool to meet, took a picture with him. But yeah, they were all awesome. Henry Winkler, though, was the one that was the absolute standout. And now I'm probably an hour and a half behind on the questions. But yes, it was a cool experience. Expensive experience, but cool experience. Any artists you become a fan of after hearing one of their songs for the first time in a horror movie? I really got into the Merle Haggard after seeing The Strangers. This isn't exactly the answer to your question, but whenever I first saw this movie Gothica with Halle Berry, it ends in the end credits with Limp Bizkit's cover of Behind Blue Eyes. And it's one of my favorite cover songs of all time. I actually prefer it to the original that The Who recorded. I'm not a fan of Limp Bizkit because of the song, so it's not exactly the answer to your question, but I remember I was like, "Damn, this is a good cover. Who is this?" And then you wait and it says Limp Bizkit. Me and my dad were both like, "No shit. What the fuck?" That was a twist. And so that's similar to what you were asking, but yeah, I'm not a fan of Limp Bizkit after that, but I do love that cover song. How's your Resident Evil Pro run going? I'm finally made it past chapter 10 and 11, which was like the bane of my fucking existence. Last night I got from chapter 12 all the way up through chapter 14 and got killed by Krauser and had to restart. So I'll probably do that after we get off the live stream. But chapter 10 and 11 was just fucking miserable, man. I mean, you're talking about just huge segments back to back to back to back, and you can only save 15 times to get the S plus ranking. And so I'm trying to just do an entire chapter in one run without saving. And man, that was a bitch for chapter 10, and especially chapter 11. Chapter 11, you got to fight two chainsaw enemies, Salvador, as well as one of the bandaged chicks, then immediately fight two El Gigantes, and then immediately do both of the mine cart runs, which are a little more difficult on professional because if you get hit with anything, it takes away like a third of your cart's life. And then immediately get into an area full of bugs that can one-shot you if you're not careful. And then immediately go into the fight with Krauser. And twice, I made it all the way to Krauser flawlessly. I was like, fuck yeah, man. And then I got to Krauser and he one-shotted me by just kicking me off of the platform, which I've never even seen him do before. You want to talk about being pissed? I made it all the way to him and I was like, all right, bitch, come on. As soon as he swiped at me, he just kicked me off. Ah! And it's an animation that said, "You are dead." And I'm like, when the fuck does he do that? So yeah. Now I'm at the point, I've saved just before you get introduced to the regenerators. So I have to make it through the regenerator area and then go with Ashley through the certain segments on the island and then do the wrecking ball segment. And then immediately after that, you'll be where she gets kidnapped again and you have to fight Krauser. I'm going to save again right before the Krauser fight because it's just too much gameplay to lose again from his bitch ass. But it's going good now. It's fun. It's extremely challenging, but it's fun. Brian hates A New Hope. Man, I'm behind. I mean no disrespect, but I don't watch the debriefs because Brian tends to piss me off a lot. That's Brian. That's Brian. Oh, man. Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I had to put a pinned comment on my review because apparently that was patched at some point in between me initially hearing that that was the case and me dropping my review. So for those that saw my Resident Evil 4 review, if you beat Professional with an S+, you will have the other 2 trophies pop, where at one point that was not the case. So that's good news. Jason Bourne or John Wick? I'm going to say John Wick. I used to love the Jason Bourne movies, and I'm here to tell you, when you watch them now, they haven't aged so well. They were really like, holy shit, this is kick-ass at the time, and they seemed revolutionary, but now we've had so many movies take what Jason Bourne did good and do them better that the series as a whole is very redundant. I mean, it's to the point where I poked fun at it when we did our 31 on 31 action, where you just have some dude at a fucking monitor. He's like, oh my God, that's Jason Bourne. That's Bourne. We got to send the asset to Bourne. It's like, that's every one of the movies. They're still good. I still love the Bourne Identity and the Bourne Ultimatum. But as a franchise, they haven't aged so well, actually. Whereas John Wick is the shit. Maybe I'll say the same thing about John Wick in 10 years. Hey, Cody, thoughts on the COTC films you've seen? Oh, fuck yeah. I forgot about that fucking ranking. I got my calendar here where I was mapping out the rest of this month, trying to think of what I should do, have some ideas, and I totally forgot. I still have one movie to watch, and then I'll be able to do that ranking. This franchise sucks. Let's put it this way. I saw the new Children of the Corn movie, gave it a 0.75 out of 5. I thought it was terrible. Then I watched the rest of the franchise, and that new one is easily a top 5 Children of the Corn movie. It's fucking rough. Of all the franchises that I have watched since doing this channel, Children of the Corn, by a landslide, is the worst. And it's one of the reasons why it's taken so long for me to get through it, because it's just taxing, man. Even for little hour and a half, hour and 20-minute movies, it's like, this might as well be 4 hours. This is the same shit over and over and over again for 12 movies. What is one of the funniest hate comments you ever get? They're all pretty funny for various reasons. You get people that poke fun at your physical appearance. You get people that poke fun at your weight. You get people. My favorite are the ones that they make fun of the way that you pronounce words. So, like, apparently on my Resident Evil 4 remake review, when I say the word linear, I more often say linear. Does it really fucking matter? You know what word I'm saying? I'm just pronouncing it barely differently. Instead of linear, it's linear. It's just the dumbest thing. I had 3 different people point that out to me. They're like, oh, this guy fucks up linear too. And I'm like, 20 something minutes of a video, and that's what you engage with? Those are the ones that crack me up. So yeah, I mean, they're all pretty funny in their own way. You just think about the motivation behind it. I'm like, how miserable of a person do you have to be? Here's one that I had that was pretty funny. So I was doing a live stream of my Resident Evil 4, the original Resident Evil 4. It's kind of like a primer before the new one came out. And I had a guy comment on the final one where I beat the game, and he said, "You are so horrible at this game. I can't wait to watch you play the remake. It's going to be comedy gold." And I'm like, first of all, not horrible at the game at all. I've played it dozens of times. It's been a while, but I played it dozens of times. I beat it in literally like 5-6 hours of streams. And I beat it fairly easily. Granted, I used unlimited ammo towards the end of it, but still, it just being horrible at a game is pretty definitive as like you're dying constantly. That's one thing. A second thing is like, you actually get joy out of watching someone that you perceive as being horrible at something, and you want to let them know that you think they're horrible at it, and then you're going to continue to enjoy how horrible they are. Miserable life, just a miserable life. And then I had somebody else within a week of that that apparently inside of a Facebook group that I won't name that was bashing me, and a couple of people reached out to me to tell, like, hey, just so you know, like, we've deleted the post, but just so you know, this guy's talking shit in case you come across him. And I look and he's in my friends list, and I'm like, okay, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. So he friend requested me, God knows how long ago. If you don't like somebody, why do you engage with them? Why do you follow them? Why do you watch their channel? Why do you follow their Facebook? Just that whole group of people make no sense to me. I'm a guy in a spare room in my house that just enjoys talking about movies with others. Like, how does that make people hate me? But you'd be shocked at the amount of people that do. And if you do hate me, fine, but why the fuck do you continue to watch me? Do something else. Watch somebody else. Make your own fucking channel and do better. It kills me. I just don't understand it whatsoever. It just I can't wrap my mind around it. Spending my time in something that I don't like. Ugh. How do you collect the Criterion Oh, hey, do you collect the Criterion Collection? No, not exclusively. I'll if there's a Criterion Collection movie that I enjoy, I'll buy it, but I don't search out that particular run of Blu-rays or anything like that. I was wondering what happened to your background music. Did you do that a second time? Must have. Yeah. I answered your question. So hopefully you heard it by now. When Brian put A New Hope solo, I actually stopped watching that video. It's my favorite movie in that franchise. Well, here's what I'll say to that. I get it to a degree. If somebody says something that's so outlandish to you, then I understand the knee-jerk reaction being, "Oh, wow, I couldn't be further from this person's point of view, so I probably don't have much value left in the video." But I would challenge you to continue watching things like that because at the end of the day, what fun is it to agree with everybody? That's one of the I like how crazy Brian is sometimes because it adds something different. Sometimes I think he goes too far, and sometimes I think his rationale is pretty fucked up for some of his hotter takes, but, it would be boring if me, CP, Brian, and Sean all agreed on everything. "I love this." "I agree, me too." "This sucks." "I agree, it sucks, doesn't it?" That would just be the most redundant conversation over and over again. So, I'm one of those people that, within reason, I actually appreciate when somebody has an opinion that's different than me. Like Celise from Sweet and Spooky, a friend of mine, fellow creator. Please check out her channel. She's a massive fan of Seed of Chucky. That's her favorite in the entire franchise, which is blasphemy to me. But I enjoy hearing her talk about it. The few times that we've talked about it on live streams and stuff where she goes into it, I enjoy hearing that different perspective because hearing the rest of the 98% of the world that thinks that movie's garbage, I've had those conversations millions of times. So hearing why somebody could watch something that I personally just despise and getting a totally opposite experience out of it, that's fascinating to me. So I would challenge you to keep watching those videos. If somebody says something that you don't agree with, just keep watching. Sometimes it's interesting to hear different perspectives. Will you be checking out Dylan's new Nightmare with Miko Hughes? I just watched the trailer earlier tonight. We need Freddy to make a comeback. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm kind of there's multiple layers to that answer. Of course, I want to support a lot of the guys that are involved with it, so it's no shade on them. But I'm just so burnout on the fan film community and the response that those of us that comment on the fan film community get. I mean, essentially I've stopped watching fan films because there were just so many in a row where if you didn't say that it was the greatest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life, then you just got lambasted with hate and blasted over the internet. And I wouldn't expect that type of treatment from the guys involved with this, but just in general, fan films, when I hear that, I just kind of get exhausted. I'm very curious to see what Dave McRae is going to do. Dave's a good dude. I'm curious to see what Cecil and Vince and all them are going to do. But I don't know. As far as watching it, yes, I'll watch it. As far as covering it, reviewing it or anything like that, I'm not sure because it feels like a bit of a conflict of interest sometimes when you're friends with people or your acquaintances with people and you know how the fan film community can be. Sometimes it's just better to watch it and keep your thoughts to yourself. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Thoughts on disturbing films, Human Centipede? Yeah, I talked about this earlier. I just don't care. I mean, I don't get anything out of those experiences. If it's just let's be as gross as possible just to fucking be crazy, I don't get anything out of that. I mean, you get a lot of those like sexual assault, revenge movies. It might as well be a subgenre like Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left, and those movies do nothing for me. Then you get the Human Centipede. It's just like it's beyond torture porn. It's just like gross out porn. I, you know, things like Serbian film and all that, where everybody's like, you got to watch it, Cannibal Holocaust, you got to watch it. And I'm like, no, actually, I don't. I don't at all. So yeah, that's really not my thing at all. What is the main camera you use for recording? It is, hang on, let me grab it. So it's a Canon EOS. This is a light that I have attached to it. It's a Canon EOS Mark II. That is my main camera. I used to use this for the longest time. It was a Canon camcorder. Basically, everything before about a year ago was that camera. And you can see, I never thought that camera looked bad until I got this one. And everything I've used, everything I've shot with this since then, I look back at the older videos and I'm like, man, I'm grainy as fuck. Look at that. So this is my main camera. I use this when I'm shooting in front of the green screen. I also have behind these monitors a little stud that I can put this on. So I record some of my videos where I'm sitting at my desk, but I use this one right here. Oh. Any chance of a Children of the Corn ranking still happening? It'll still happen. I put way too much time into it to not do it. I just got to get through that last little movie, and I've had no time to do it between MegaCon, my kids being home, sponsored videos, Resident Evil 4 taking away my life. It's just been so. Yes, I would say um, I'll squeeze it in at some point in April for sure. Hey, Cody, had a long road trip last weekend, and your 3131 debriefs with the Autop Stream gang got me through it. Thanks for the entertainment. Hell yes. That's what I like to hear. I had a couple people tell me that at MegaCon. They're like, man, you make my work life so much easier just listening to your stuff. So I have been that person before where that is what helped me survive through a lot of my jobs, just having podcasts and YouTube videos to listen to. So if I can be that person for somebody else, that is awesome. Playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, first ever Resident Evil game I've played. Absolutely love it so far. Dude, you got to play the others. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I mean, I can't say too much because the first Resident Evil 4 was my introduction to Resident Evil, but it might have set you up with the wrong expectations because it's much more action-packed than the rest of the franchise. But after you get done playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, this is the homework I'm giving you. Look on either PlayStation or Xbox, unless you're a PC player, but look on either PlayStation or Xbox, and you should, on both of those, find like a 2-pack of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 at a discount, or look on Amazon. Maybe it's cheaper to buy the physical copies of both of them, but play Resident Evil 2 followed by Resident Evil 3. And if you enjoy those, then move into Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil 8 Village. They're first person, so they're a little different, but those are all the modern Resident Evil games. And, you know, I would say those are going to give you your best experiences. And if you love it and you still want more, then you can go back and look at some of the older games or the older ports, but definitely go that order. Oh, let's see. How was Adam Sandler? The wife and I are seeing him next Friday, fifth row. Also, please at least watch and rank the Clerk movies. Great trilogy. Adam Sandler was awesome. It was a cool experience. You know, when we saw him, he had David Spade and Rob Schneider there, and it was just cool to see all of them live. His show is not necessarily like laugh out loud every single second as far as his style of comedy, but it's pure Adam Sandler. It's his goofiness. It's him doing the voices and doing songs and stuff and incorporate it into a really neat live show. But as somebody that has grown up on Adam Sandler movies, and he's been a huge piece of my life, especially my adolescence, it was cool to see him live and just kind of get to experience that. It's kind of like a celebration of everybody. You know, he ends it on, well, I won't spoil it what he ends it on because I know you want to see it live, but like by the end of it, he starts going into some songs that kind of celebrate his career and celebrate everybody loving his movies and everything like that. And so it was a really neat experience. It was worth every penny. You're by far my favorite movie reviewer on YouTube. Well, thank you. Do you think they'll never make another Nightmare on Elm Street movie? No, I don't think they'll never make another one. When they'll actually make them, I don't know, because it just feels like they need to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, Halloween came back and kind of kicked off this resurgence of old school slashers, and now we've had Candyman and Scream's had 2 movies. We got a fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot coming. Chucky had a remake and a TV show, and so you've got all these things coming on, and Freddy's just nowhere to be found. And I'm afraid that they're gonna fuck around and wait, and then inevitably, whenever this like slasher resurgence ends, then they're gonna try to come out, and it's gonna be like, oh, old news at this point, dude. I mean, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was like one of the last, if not the last ones to come out of the Platinum Dunes remake era. So it's like Freddy's always late to the fucking party. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I want them to make a good movie. I don't want them to just rush and make a shitty one, but it just seems ridiculous to me that they don't have more of a priority of getting that thing out. Haven't heard anything about it. When do the 31 and 31 polls commence? 3 of the 5 are live right now. So if you go to my community page, you'll have 3 of the 5 that you can vote on as of right now. And I'm going to post another one. Actually, I'll post another one right now. So yeah, we have one that's like the original movies. We have one that is like reboots and sequels. And the one that I just posted about an hour ago is like the fun movies, like the goofy, weird ones. And the one that I'm getting ready to do for this 4th poll is for horror comedies. And so you'll have some interesting picks here. And then one more after that later on tonight, we will have the final one, which is like the bad movies, like the ones that, notoriously people are not a big fan of. And we'll see. I'm curious which ones are gonna be the top dogs on that one. I've been pretty well at pretty good at predicting what the popular ones are going to be and the ones that we've done thus far. But the horror comedy one and the bad movies one, I'm very curious where that's going to go. So now we have a 4th poll up for horror comedy, and the choices are Once Bitten with Jim Carrey, Teen Wolf, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer, What We Do in the Shadows, and Vampire in Brooklyn. So that is going to be the 4th one, and we'll see where that one goes. And then once we get off the live stream, I'll do the final one. Also, will you be watching the Five Nights at Freddy movie? I'm sure I'll see it, yeah, for sure. But I've never played the games. I don't necessarily have a specific interest in it. Huge fan of the channel. Cody, discovered you back with your Dexter reviews. My favorite show ever. Have you ever watched 11, 22, 63 or Midnight Mass? Unfortunately, I missed Midnight Mass. I need to watch it at some point because I've heard it's pretty damn good. But I did see 11, 22, 63. And that was pretty fucking awesome. That was a great series. I love time travel stuff. So that's right up my alley. But I really, really liked that little series there. Thought James Franco was great in it. Whatever the woman who was like his love interest in it, man, I like fell in love with that woman when we were watching that show. What's been the hardest section of Resident Evil 4 for you? Well, my first playthrough was on hardcore, so I was pretty glutton for punishment. I thought the Salazar boss fight was the hardest part, and it was just to the point where it was just pissing me off. I just did not like the way that they made that fight where he's just this blob that just shoots all around the room, and you can only shoot him when he's actually attacking you, which is a bitch. And so I love the little egg trick. I used that on my professional run, killed him in 2 seconds, and it was hilarious to me. It's kind of cheesy, but that was the hardest section for me. That was the only section that I just sat there for like I think probably 13, 14 different times trying to beat him. And then finally was just like, fuck, I just unloaded on him, just and finally took him out. Ever watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners? No, I've never heard of it. Got a lot of that's a running theme tonight. I've never heard of it. Sorry. Um, I don't know if that sounds like an anime maybe, but no. Sorry, man. I haven't heard of that one. Are you getting the steelbook for the Mario movie? I don't know. I haven't seen what it looks like. I usually like the steelbooks, but sometimes they have a really shitty design. So I'll have to see. I'll definitely be buying it one way or the other because I enjoyed it. They have said that Chucky season 3 will return to its scary roots again. I love Chucky, but it has become very inconsistent since Seed. Thoughts on the allegations of the tone of season 3? I mean, it's par for the course. That's what they've been doing since Seed. They do a wacky one and then a serious one, and a wacky one and a serious one. And I don't know if that's by design or if it's just that Don Mancini is stubborn and he always wants to push things to that silly, campy, goofy tone. And then when everybody yells at him, he goes back to more of the grounded stuff. So I really don't know, but all I can tell you is that that franchise has kind of it's exhausted my fandom because I've been on that bouncing back and forth ride ever since Seed to where I hated Seed, loved Curse, didn't like Cult at all, really liked the first season, hated season 2, and then now we'll be back at season 3 and it's exhausting to have a franchise where you know every other time it's just going to be not for you whatsoever. So I hope it gets back to its scary roots or its darker roots, whatever. But I don't know. Just the season 2 just did so many things that I just absolutely hated narratively, where I'm just like, why is that canon now? Why can he do that now? Why is that? Why is that even a fucking thing? And I don't know. Nothing but respect for the dude. He makes the show. He writes the stories. He does everything the way that he wants. Nothing but respect for that. It's his stories. He can tell them however the fuck he wants. I don't have to like them. But as a huge Chucky fan, it's so exhausting. It's so exhausting. Hey, another one. How do you feel season 3 of Chucky will play out? I don't know. If this is to be believed, what what Carnage Candy Productions just said, then I'm sure I'll enjoy it more. If it's more along the lines of what season 2 was, I might drop off the show completely. I'm not even sure I'm going to review season 3 because season 2 was such a miserable experience to review because every week having to get on camera, just watching the show every single week and being disappointed sucks enough. Then having to turn the camera on and express and articulate why you're frustrated every single week for 10 weeks is just exhausting. And then you get everybody in the comment section who is a fan of it that it just rides all over you. And then, I had Devin Sawa on Twitter get smart with me one time. He deleted the tweet, so I to this day I don't know whether he just realized what he said was a little shitty or whatever, but coming at me because I didn't like an episode, and it just gets fucking exhausting. It's like, okay, whatever. If it's to that point where my thoughts on the show aren't wanted, then I won't give my thoughts on the show. And I know everybody doesn't feel that way. There's actually people involved with the show that talked with me personally. They were like, dude, please just keep saying whatever you're saying. It doesn't matter. Like, value the fact that you're honest, that's important. So I don't know. It's still 6 months or so until the show starts. And so maybe by the time it comes around, I'm going to be hungry to talk about Chucky again, and I'll do week to week episodes. But week to week episode reviews when you're not enjoying a show is fucking taxing. So we'll see. Maybe it depends on how the first episode goes. If it feels like we're back on track, maybe I'll turn the camera on. If it feels like, oh, this is more the same, then I'll probably shut my mouth until episode 10. Any hot takes on the Oscars? Well, I don't know. Let me pull it up and see. So for those that don't know, Kylie over at the Haunted Hippie channel is doing a award season show on horror films like the Oscars, but the Oscars. And I'm going to be presenting one of the awards to best franchise film. So let's see here. So best horror feature, I'm okay with that. Best breakout director, I'm okay with that as well. That one actually was my pick. So no, not really. I mean, all of these here. Honestly, the only one, and it's not really a hot take. The only one that I felt was a little bit skewed, I guess we'll say, is actually the one that I'm presenting. So, best franchise film. There's one film that just absolutely ran away with the vote, and I didn't feel like that one film was significantly better than the other choices. And so, I was a little disappointed that the vote wasn't a little bit more spread out between the other choices. It seemed like a bit of a popularity contest, but it's not by any means a choice that I'm unhappy with because I like that movie. Same with the best breakout actor. My pick was not picked, but it wasn't like a big hot take or anything like that. So no, it's pretty par for the course. I mean, when you do these kind of community polls, you can kind of take it to the bank that it's going to be a bit of a popularity contest. Like we knew that when we were doing the 31 on 31 votes. We wanted to give you guys some control and have some participation, do something different. And at the same time, we probably could predict most of what the popular picks are going to be and just go ahead and do the 31 as is. But I wanted to kind of take a chance and see if we'll get some surprises. And so the only surprise so far that I've seen on the polls that we've done for 31 on 31 is that I'm genuinely surprised that more people want to see Interview with the Vampire included than The Howling. I would have assumed The Howling would have been easily the second place pick after The Lost Boys, but 18% of the vote goes to Interview the Vampire. Only 14 is going to The Howling. So unless we get significantly more votes that change the course for that particular poll, it looks like The Howling will not be included, which is kind of shocking to me. But yeah, so the Oscars will be coming up soon. I don't know if she's announced what date she's doing it, but keep your eyes peeled for that. Do you have any plans to attend Fantastic Fest again? I'm thinking about getting tickets for my son and I. I absolutely intend to, provided that there's not something else going on that keeps me away from it, or I don't want to assume that I'm it's a pretty safe assumption, but I don't want to assume that I'm welcome to also stay at the Chandler household again. But yes, I loved the experience last year. It was a very fun 8 or 9 days. I would love to do it again this year. And we had actually already talked about Sean wants to try to get like an Airbnb and get more YouTube friends in our circle to actually come down, and we'll all kind of stay and cover the festival together. And that would be even cooler. But even if it's just me and Sean and the rest of the Chandlers, that was a really good time. So I absolutely plan on going again. Thoughts on Godsmack's new album, Lighting Up the Sky? It's my least favorite album that they've ever done, to be honest with you. If you want more in-depth thoughts, go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and look for the Autop Stream Network. That is my podcast network where I don't have a ton of new stuff on it because I kind of went away from it for a while, but I have had the live streams or the live streams, the audio versions of a lot of the older live streams and debriefs and stuff on there. And there's a show that I just recently did with my dad called Breaking Dad. And one of the main things that we discussed is the Godsmack album. So you'll get both of our thoughts on it. What is your criteria for whether or not you will review every film in a franchise or just rank the franchise without doing reviews for each individual film? Time and interest. More so time. So there's some franchises where I love the franchise so much and I really just am hungry to talk about it, like the Rocky franchise. That is not a franchise that I expected to do particularly well on this channel, unfortunately, but I didn't care. I wanted to talk about those because I love the Rocky franchise, and I just wanted to kind of have an excuse to go back through them and talk about them in depth finally. There's been other ones like the Children of the Corn franchise where I look at that and I go, do I really want to do 12 reviews of every single one of these movies and do a full review telling you about all the things I didn't like and all the things that I liked, most of which I didn't like? And it just didn't feel like there was any value to doing that. Just 12 videos of me saying how much this sucks. That's just, there's just nothing interesting in that for me as somebody that's going to be doing it. I don't imagine there's anything interesting in that for somebody that just doesn't want to hear me bitch. Man, I got that one little fucking alfalfa curl that will not get out of. So that when I decided, okay, if I do this, I'm just going to watch them and do a ranking. I'll get all my thoughts out on the ranking because it's going to be the same thoughts over and over. So it's interest, but more so it's time. Like if I look at a franchise that's coming out and there's just going to be no way that I can review all the films and actually put quality into the videos, then I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just review or just rank the films together at the end and wait till next time. Hey, Cody, love your channel. Watch your videos all the time. I think Derek Mears is the scariest Jason. What do you think? I would agree. He's my number one Jason, easily. My second would be Ted White from The Final Chapter. My third favorite would be Richard Brooker from Part 3, 3D. But to me, Derek Mears is the monster Jason. And I love that. Hey there, Nick Diaz from Double Toasted here. Wanted to ask if you saw that new trailer for Dylan's new Nightmare. Sorry if someone else asked. Nick Diaz from Double Toasted. Dude, I am a huge Double Toasted fan. So I doubt that Corey or anybody over there knows who I am or gives a fuck, but send my blessing over to them and say, hey, Cody's a fan. I've loved those guys ever since the Spill days. So keep up the good work that you guys do. Yes, I did see the trailer for Dylan's new Nightmare. It's very intriguing. It doesn't show a whole lot. I have my suspicions that the entire movie is just going to be basically that therapy session. I didn't read the script or anything. I know Cecil let a couple people read it way back in the day, but I'm curious. I'm as somebody who loves Freddy, I'm very interested to see what it's going to be, and at the same time, I'm so it was so cool for a while there to see fan films like Never Hike Alone and everything and go, see how easy it is to do this so awesomely. And it's been kind of disheartening that none of these guys have really gotten a shot to actually do it. Like the fact that Vince DeSanti and Womp Stomp Films haven't been approached to do a new Friday the 13th film to me after what they did with Never Hike Alone, to me, just kind of takes a little bit of the wind out of my sails with appreciating fan films. Because let's say Cecil and company knock this out of the fucking park. Do they deserve a chance to do it on the big screen? Maybe. But are they ever going to get that chance? History shows no. And that sucks. So yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of complicated feelings about the fan film stuff. I've never made one myself, so I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to seem like I'm negative, but it looks like the type of production I would expect from the people involved with the movie. And I'm curious what's going to come out of it. So hopefully you're still on here. I know that's over an hour ago. Jesus Christ, I got to get caught up. Cobra Monk 78. Hey, Cody, hope you're doing well and are going to do a video on your recent trip to MegaCon. Also just curious if you're a car guy and what kind. I am not a car guy whatsoever. This has never really been in my blood. My dad's a big car whore, just didn't transfer over to me. I'm not going to do a video on MegaCon. I don't know. I'm not really somebody that likes to document my life. I like to just experience it. I spend so much time filming myself and live streaming and doing things on social media that I'm the type to I just want to live. I just want to experience things. You know, my wife gets on to me sometimes. Why aren't you taking a picture? Why aren't you videoing this? And I'm like, because I just want to fucking experience it. I don't give a fuck if everybody else gets to see it. Not quite the case with MegaCon. That would be cool to do a video vlog type thing for, but I just wanted to experience the con. I wanted to hang out with everybody. I wanted to meet Flickinger, meet Austin Burke, meet Chris, and meet the celebrities, meet all of you that came out. And I just wanted to kind of live in the moment. I didn't want to just be the whole time like, okay, cool, nice to meet you. Hey, all right, everybody, this is so-and-so. Like, just, I don't know. I guess I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to push back on that whole new age expectation that we document everything. So no, unfortunately, I did not document anything video wise of my trip of MegaCon. I just kind of experienced it. So no video coming down the pipe. Do you watch horror movies with your kids? If so, how do you introduce them to it? I do occasionally, depending on what we're watching. You know, there's certain limits to it. How do you introduce them to it? It depends on the kid. Like my son was somebody that took a lot longer to kind of warm up to it. For him, he had already been convinced by his mom and his grandmother that he was going to be scared, and so he just would just repeat whatever they said. And my way of getting around that was I would put on a movie like the original Fright Night, and whenever it was about to get tense or something, I would make a joke. I would say something silly to make him laugh, just to kind of like keep it light. And I always found that did good to not get him too tense or scared during the spots. Also, if it's a boy, anything with some tits in it, it pretty much smooths things over. I know that's probably not the best new age answer, but fuck it. That is absolutely a recipe for success. If you got a little boy, just be like, oh yeah, I forgot there's a nipple in this one. That works. Now with my girls, I never really had to smooth things over with them. They both pretty much true to horror right away. So with them, I just make sure there's not anything overly gratuitous, either of a sexual nature or too much gore. Like I'll let them watch the Scream movies. They like Freddy and Chucky and stuff like that. But I haven't dove into anything too intense with them just yet. So every kid's different, and every parent's different. Hey, Cody, any idea when we can expect the next What's in the Inbox episode? Really looking forward to it. Keep up the great work. I don't know. This is a busy month, so maybe one later on this month. I'm not sure, but just keep an eye out on the YouTube community page because I'll or Twitter or whatever. I'll ask for everybody's questions whenever I'm gearing up to do another one. But I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy doing them. Are you into any 90s hip hop? Not necessarily, but I will say this. The only hip hop that I do like is from that era. I don't really care for much new age stuff, but you listen to some of that older stuff, like some older Tupac, some older Biggie, and it's different. It's just got more artistry to it for me. There's more of a beat to it. It feels like storytelling. It feels like somebody talking about their life. And I really kind of latch into music like that. Nowadays, the way that you have a lot of rap and everything just doesn't really feel like that. It feels overproduced. It feels like a lot of bells and whistles, and it's like as graphic as we can possibly make it. Obviously that's a big blanket statement for somebody that doesn't listen to rap, so I can't really speak fairly. But yeah, I for the times that I will tolerate listening to rap and not want to gouge my ears out, that era tends to be the one that I can get into the most. Are you excited about the new Insidious? I'm curious because Patrick Wilson, is that his name, is doing the directing this time around. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do, but I don't know shit about the story. So it's hard to get excited until I know what the story is. What's a horror movie franchise that shouldn't have been a franchise? And then what's a solo horror movie that deserved a franchise but never got one? Franchise that shouldn't have been a franchise, despite the fact that I adore the third movie, The Exorcist. The Exorcist had no business being a franchise, and it's one of the reasons I don't know why the fuck they are doing a reboot to it, and a trilogy of reboots at that. A solo horror movie that deserved a franchise but never got one. I'm not overly passionate about this opinion, but I always was surprised that The Burning didn't turn into something, especially in the 80s slasher craze there. I think it's just because the killer himself, Cropsy, wasn't all that iconic, but there was some good stuff in The Burning. I'm surprised that wasn't at least a 2 or 3 movie franchise. Is there a trend in film that you actually didn't mind? I personally enjoyed whenever they got music video directors to do horror remakes in the 2000s. I like a lot of the remakes of the 2000s. I don't know if it has to do with the director necessarily, but I like more of the Platinum Dunes movies than ones that I don't like. So yeah, I didn't mind that trend whatsoever. I loved the Texas Chainsaw remake. I love the Friday the 13th remake. I love the Amityville Horror remake. What are some other Platinum Dunes ones that I'm missing? That might be all of them. Maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe I dislike more the ones that I like, but I liked quite a few of them. Hey, there she is. Random question, but what is your favorite seasoning to use on your barbecue? Amanda always asks me, she's like, when are you going live again? My favorite seasoning to use in your barbecue, it depends on the piece of meat. It depends on the piece of meat. So if I'm doing pork, I like to use Hardcore Carnivore Red. And that's what I use on pulled pork. That's what I use on ribs. And if I'm doing like steaks, I like to use primarily salt and pepper, but I'll put a little bit of garlic powder on there, and I use a tiny bit of Hardcore Carnivore Black. And Hardcore Carnivore Black has a bit of charcoal mixed in with the seasoning, so it's very overpowering. So I just put a little bit on there because the way that I do steaks is I use my smoker to do a reverse sear. So essentially what that is, for those that don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, you throw all of your season your steaks, you throw them all onto the smoker at a really low temperature, like 200 degrees. They'll basically bake in the smoke for, depending on how thick the steaks are, maybe like 45 minutes. You want to pull them off of the smoker when they're about 110, 115 internal temperature. I prefer my steaks to be medium rare. So you want to pull them off about 15, 20 degrees before your ideal finish temperature. And then once I pull them off, they just look like, smoked meat that's not 100% done yet. Then I crank my Blackstone all the way up to high and I sear the fuck out of them, like 2 minutes aside. And so they look gorgeous. They get brought up to a perfect internal temperature, like the wall to wall pink when you do it that way, and you get a little extra smoky flavor in there. I haven't been brave enough to do a brisket yet. I'm sure I would do well with it, but they're expensive as hell to fuck up. So 80, 90, $100 for a brisket and you fuck it up. That's a painful Sunday afternoon. So yeah, that's kind of the ones that I typically do for that. And then chicken just depends. You know, you can put pretty much anything on chicken. You can season chicken in like a Southwest way. You can put like a little chili lime on there. You can do, um, kind of an Italian seasoning. You know, chicken's very easy to just do whatever the fuck you want with. So any of those. But Hardcore Carnivore is a really good brand to have various seasonings from them if you're getting into barbecue. Thoughts on Wonka 2023? I'm excited for it. Now, I need to see a trailer and everything like that, but I really love the original not Charlie, the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, despite not liking musicals. And I'm really curious on what they're going to do with that. So I think that Timothy Chalamet is a good pick. Just curious, did Cujo miss your 1983 top 10 because you never saw it or just not a fan? The second one. Cujo did for me what Zelda did for you as a child. Why I'm asking. Now, I haven't seen the movie in years, so I'm due for a rewatch, but I've never been a fan of Cujo. So that's why it did not make it. What is your favorite part of the Resident Evil remake? Mine is the castle. The castle's always been my favorite. Castle's always been my favorite. Cody hates zombie movies. No, I actually don't. I'm not a fanatic of them, but I don't hate them. You consider yourself a movie critic or a movie fan? I mean, both, technically. I mean, I'm a movie fan first. I just happen to have the accolades of a critic, I guess. But I mean, people come to me for movie opinions. People make their movie decisions based off what I say. Some people do, although I don't necessarily champion that. Always make up your own mind. I'm certified in a lot of places. I have, different critic associations, so I am both. You know, some people don't necessarily like the or buy into the whole new age thing about not having to go to like journalism school or have like a degree or anything like that to actually be a critic. You can just kind of be a person with a following or a person that makes videos. But I think I've worked pretty hard and done a pretty good job to get where I'm at. So I consider myself to be both. Whether others do is not too much concern for me. Let's see. Looking for a miracle, man. Hey, Rudy, you're probably not here anymore. Bark at the Moon's a good one. How did you like meeting Matthew Lillard in person? Well, I didn't really feel like I got to meet him. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You see, there's a Nicolas Cage vampire movie being made. Yeah, it comes out on Thursday. I plan on seeing it. It's not just being made. That shit's about to come out. Jason Rodriguez, Resident Evil game ranking coming soon. Your channel's awesome. Also, side note, why is everyone voting Renfield over Monster Squad? Because it's new and it's exciting and they want to hear us talk about a newer film, probably. Monster Squad's okay. I've never been as big of a fan on Monster Squad as most people. But we'll see. Maybe it'll get the second place spot. Resident Evil game ranking soon. I'm not sure. Probably, but at the same time, it's weird. It's always hard to do a new ranking with just a remake, particularly this one, because my list would not change at all with the exception of adding in the Resident Evil 4 remake. And I don't know where I would put it because it's never going to take away how important the original Resident Evil 4 to me is. That's my second favorite video game of all time. That's a game that is so important to me. And yet, in many ways, I feel like this remake is a better version of that game. But I don't know if I should rank it higher because it is technically a better version of the game when the previous version means so much to me. It's kind of a hard thing. So I don't know. I can't even really sift through that idea in my head enough to want to know whether or not I want to do a whole video on it or not. But possibly. We'll see. Happening, man. Love the content here from Scotland. Do you enjoy the Maniac Cop films? I've never seen them. I had somebody send me the Blu-ray box set of a couple of them. I just haven't had a chance to check them out yet. I've heard good things. Best and worst Sons of Anarchy season. My favorite was season 2. My least favorite is either season 3 or the final season. I love the last couple episodes of the final season. I love the way that they wrap up the show, but that was a very, very slow, drawn out final season. It just felt like they didn't have a whole lot to actually do aside from the last couple of episodes where things really hit the fan. There was some solid stuff throughout the middle, but just overall, that just felt like a really slow season. But season 3 was an extended season, and God, like, once they got to Ireland, it was just like, "Fuck, can we just finish what we're doing here and get back? Because there ain't shit going on." So, one of those 2. Oh, man, I'm behind. Have you seen the new "Talk to Me" by A24 trailer? I'm a huge Raka Raka fan. Who the fuck is Raka Raka? And it's gonna be my favorite horror of 2023 for sure. By the way, much love. You're one of the reasons why I'm into horror. Well, awesome. Awesome. I'm glad I got you into horror, or at least I'm increasing your horror fandom in some way. No, I have not seen the trailer from Talk to Me. If it's an A24 horror film, I probably would rather walk into the film without seeing the trailer because one, trailers for horror films tend to give away too much, and two, trailers for A24 horror films specifically always tend to mismarket the film. They always make them seem like very different movies than they actually are, and I would rather just walk in and be surprised. But I don't know who the fuck Raka Raka is. I need to get me educated, I guess. I need to get on that. I'll look that up later. Hey, Rudy, who would you rather nail, Jack Nicholson or Meg Ryan? Jack Nicholson now or 1974? Put in another super chat. Tell me the answer. Just showing love. I've watched you grind your ass off and deserve the success you've had. Thank you so much. Wish I could have caught you at MegaCon this year, but had plans. Keep up the good work, brother. Well, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities, so no worries. But thank you so much. Let's see. If you think about it, the movie Predator was a standalone film, you could argue that Arnold Schwarzenegger was indeed the Predator. Well, by the end of it, for sure. That was kind of the whole thing. Is kind of it flipping the dynamic on its head, where now the prey become or the hunter becomes the hunted. So yeah. Last Shift ending is dumb as hell. I'm on good authority that they have went in a very different direction with the ending of Malum. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that. So if that was your only issue with Last Shift, give Malum a shot. You might like it better. Do you script bullet point or rant for your reviews? Or rant for my reviews. But no, I don't script or bullet point anything. I turn the camera on and talk. That's why I make mistakes sometimes. That's why I say linear instead of linear because that counts. That's why sometimes I'll fuck up a name or I'll flub a date or something like that because I found when I first started this channel, I did write notes for myself and I've gone back to writing notes once in a while throughout the years and I find that I feel too scripted. I feel too robotic for my own personal taste whenever I'm following notes. So I like to go off the cuff. Sometimes I might miss something, sometimes I might forget to mention something, sometimes I might fuck something up, but I feel like the benefit outweighs those couple of things because I just feel like I have a better energy to me whenever I'm just able to talk. So it not everybody can kind of do that. Some people have to have notes, some people have to have bullet points, or they kind of get lost in their thoughts. And then you have some people like me that if I do bullet point or script myself, I feel like it fucks me up. So everybody's got their own style, but mine is just a free flow. Uh let's see. Hey, thank you so much. Greetings from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Have you ever got a chance to watch Fargo season 2? It's one of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen. Actually, no. I've saw the first season. I loved the first season, so I don't have an excuse really why I haven't made it to the rest of the show, but no, I've only seen season 1. I've heard great things about season 2, but I don't know. I think maybe I just got busy at the time or something. I just never got around to it. Zach Walls, thank you so much. Have you watched Ted Lasso or Yellow Jackets? Neither, but they're both on my list. Currently, me and the wife are watching. We're watching Yellowstone, but we're waiting for the second half of season 5 to start season 5, and we're watching that show Shrinking on Apple TV, which has been so enjoyable. And we just wrapped up Poker Face not too long ago. We were watching that as well. So I want to start new shows when I complete shows that we're already watching. Ted Lasso is definitely on my radar. I don't know if it's a Holly and Cody show or just a Cody show because she's not really into sports. But Yellow Jackets, we've both been interested in ever since the first season. Just haven't got a chance to check it out yet. But before long, I'll be checking them out for sure. Love that you show Child's Play 3 love. It was the movie that got me into horror as a kid, and the third act might be my favorite third act in the franchise. Everything that you just said, I agree with 100%. And I got a episode coming out over on Sledgehammer Horror before long where we are going to do like our in defense of Child's Play 3, because that's actually Ken's favorite Child's Play movie. So yes, look forward to that. In your opinion, what is an overrated video game movie and why? An overrated video game movie and why? Not many of them are rated high, so I don't really have an answer for that, because there hasn't been any that I've seen where I'm like, that's terrible and everybody loves it. Usually it's like, that's terrible and everybody thinks it's terrible. So yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, but I can't think of an overrated one. Do you have family in Kentucky? What area? Big fan, bro. Yeah, I have Kentucky. I have family in Kansas. I have family in Texas. My grandfather and his wife, they've lived in Tennessee, but they've bounced around from Kentucky to Tennessee a few times. So I don't currently have any family in Kentucky that I know of, but I have throughout the years. Brief thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy. I actually answered that question not so briefly earlier, if you want to rewind and see it, but brief thoughts on it. Seems like a really fun game, a really cool open world concept. It seems to be really fun. I just did not, unfortunately, have the time to really give it my full attention. So if you're a Harry Potter fanatic, I'm sure that game was like a godsend to you, because I'm not a fanatic and I thought it was cool. Ozzy Osbourne's picture from Trick or Treat is in Little Nicky's room. It's the same picture on that DVD cover of him and Gene Simmons together. Oh, fun fact. These evil people have got to be stopped. Can you do another 8-hour video again? Oh, God. I'm going to have to do another Blu-ray update video at some point now that it's my most viewed video on my channel. Why do they constantly fuck up Resident Evil? What on earth is so difficult about it? I'm telling you, Sky. I'm telling you. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. You'd think that all the movies in the Paul W.S. Anderson, despite financial success, would have been enough of a hint. And then they did the Resident Evil TV series, and then they did Welcome to Raccoon City. And it's just like, what is the consistent theme here, guys? You're not following the games close enough. Do you watch the special features on Blu-rays? On occasion, if it's a movie I'm really interested in, specific things. But not too much anymore. Not enough time to, but certain ones for sure. Do you think video game franchises will take the place of comic book movies as the new big ticket movie franchises genre? Do you foresee a Crash Bandicoot movie coming out in the future? I mean, I would love a future where video game franchises, as far as movie adaptations, got that big and that prestigious. I don't see it happening, not anytime soon anyway. Not to overtake comic book films, but I would like to see a future to where they've looked at things like The Last of Us and a few of the video game movies that we've gotten that have been well received, and they finally learn their lessons and say, okay, we got to treat the source material like it fucking matters and start from there. And so starting to get some really solid movies and TV series out of video game properties for a nice string of years would be nice. I would appreciate that very much. Do I foresee a Crash Bandicoot movie? I don't know. It would have to be animated, and I don't remember enough about those games narratively to be able to see exactly what is what story there is to be told, I guess. All right. All right. Godfather review and ranking. Not anytime soon. I'm not a huge fan of the Godfather movies. I mean, objectively, the first two are great, but they're not very rewatchable for me. I'll rewatch Goodfellas 10 times before I rewatch The Godfather. What was your major in college? For the 1 year that I went, it was civil engineering. And it's a lesson to be learned, kids. Do not major in some shit that your parents tells you to major in, because you'll fucking hate it. So, yeah, I wanted to major in hotel restaurant management, but I was a math science whiz in high school. So my parents did what they thought was best and pushed me towards civil engineering, wanted me to have something that was more science and math based and more lucrative. And I didn't have a lot of passion for it. And I fucking hated it and dropped out. Any thoughts on the movie Race with the Devil? That old movie with Fonda in it. I've never seen it. It's tickling my brain, so I think my dad might have had the Blu-ray or something, but I've never personally seen it. Thoughts on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey? Go look on Twitter. You'll find my thoughts and a lot of people's thoughts on my thoughts. Hey, Cody, been a fan of your channel for a while now. If they decide to remake A Nightmare on Elm Street, what are some things you hope they do differently from the original and the 2010 film? Well, I don't think they need to remake it for one. They can just do a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. If they follow the same old thing about Nancy and her mother being drunk and the kids finding out who Freddy is, like just going through that whole story again, it's going to be like, guys, no, don't need to do this again. So that's what I would want is just do a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Don't remake the original. It's funny how Morbius was panned by both MCU fans and critics, but since has gained a cult following, especially over the internet memes. Has it really, though? Tony Chappie, I've met him at both MegaCon experiences. I'm going to disagree with you, Tony. I don't think it has a cult following. I think it has a meme following. And it has a meme following because nobody really likes it. So unless there's a big passionate crowd of morbs out there that I'm unaware of, I don't think that movie's got a cult following, at least not yet. If you co-star in any successful franchise, what would it be? Mission Impossible for me. Nightmare on Elm Street or Child's Play. It's obvious, I guess, but yeah, give me one of those. Music suggestion: Motionless in White Creatures album. A lot of songs about horror movies like Lost Boys and Sleepy Hollow. Love your channel. Isn't that what that song with that band Ice Nine Kills is doing? Everything is based off of a movie. It's like a trend going on now. Thank you, Cool Hand Luke. What we've got here is failure to communicate. What are you hoping they'll do with Scream 7, and do you think they'll bring Stu back? Go and check out my Scream 6 spoiler review, especially towards the end. That's where I get into a lot of my theories on where Scream 7 seems to be heading with the things that happen in Scream 5 and Scream 6. To give you a brief answer now, I do think they are hinting towards Stu coming back. That's the only signs that I'm seeing. That's the only things that I'm able to kind of put together. So I don't, I'm not going to be surprised if they don't do it, but at the same time, that seems to be where all the hints and all the little Easter eggs are pointing towards. As ridiculous as that seems, there's a way that they can explain it away, but yeah. Hey, Cody, what are your thoughts on The Sandlot? I love The Sandlot. Absolute classic from my childhood. Old Dennis Leary and James Earl Jones. And that's one of those old school movies that I can watch 100 times and never get tired of it. Aside from Dream Warriors, what is your favorite song from a horror movie minus anything from Nightmare on Elm Street 4? You got The Man Behind the Mask by Alice Cooper from, what is that, part 4? Is it part 4? No, part 6. Jason Lives. You have that. Basically the entire soundtrack of Trick or Treat by Fastway. Any of those. Let's see. Who do you think would be more fun to hang out with, Vanilla Ice or Tony Hawk? I don't fucking know, dude. I don't have a particular interest in hanging out with either one of them, to be honest with you. I mean, Vanilla Ice, I don't know, I've never been a fan of him. We all know that one song, but beyond that, I don't know shit about the guy. Tony Hawk, I loved his video games, but I never really followed skating. So I would assume Tony Hawk is probably a little bit cooler of a guy. He's a dad. He's older. He's not known for being a dick. I could be wrong. I seem to remember Vanilla Ice being known as a bit of an asshole, but I could be wrong. Regardless, either one. Have you seen the Short Circuit movies? No, I have not. Do you enjoy them? I don't know yet. And which VHS movie is your favorite? Also, do you think Terrifier 3 will be even better? I hope so. I mean, they did a really nice jump in quality from 1 to 2 in my mind. So if they do that jump for quality again from 2 to 3, that'd be cool. But even if it's just as good as Terrifier 2, I'll be happy. Which VHS movie is your favorite? I've only seen VHS and VHS 94, whatever the fuck the one at Fantastic Fest is. I've only seen 2 of them. So I don't know if my answer would be fair on that. I wasn't particularly a fan of either of the ones that I have seen. I liked one short in both of them. Rambo Wrath for Life often watches your stuff because people pay him to, and he's often very critical. I have no idea who the fuck that is. So whatever. I know that you are not a fan of his work, but I thought I would ask, would you consider rewatching ranking Ari Aster's films when Beau is Afraid comes out? Well, I mean, I'm not a fan of Midsummer, but I like Hereditary. I wasn't like over the moon about Hereditary. I did, I wasn't quite on the this is the greatest thing I've ever seen train that a lot of people were, but I like Hereditary. Midsummer, granted, it's due for a rewatch. I didn't care for that one. So would I consider rewatching or ranking? I definitely consider ranking. Which means I would have to rewatch them. I wouldn't re-review any of them, but yeah, I would probably let's see. When's Beau was Afraid? Beau was Afraid is the 22nd, right? Yeah, I'll probably rewatch those and do a ranking. That's the same weekend as Evil Dead, though. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on what Beau is Afraid does. If nobody really seems to care about that, then there's not really much of a reason to re-rank Ari Aster films. But we'll see. If that becomes a movie that everybody's talking about, then I'll definitely jump into the conversation. Hey, thank you, Grudge Match. Have you ever watched any of the Faces of Death movies? If so, what do you think of them? No. No. See my comments earlier on like the video nasties. I just don't have any desire to watch any of those. Hey, Cody, been a huge fan since 10K. Ooh, old school fan. Much love from Australia. Hell yeah. Getting a lot of love from Australia today. Recommend a little gem called The Last Shift. If you've not seen it, remake is out. Yeah, I talked about the remake a little bit earlier. I would like to check out The Last Shift and then rewatch Malum once it's available on VOD. But yeah, I did talk about Malum just a little bit earlier. How did you get used to talking to the camera? Just by doing it. I was very uncomfortable doing it for a while, especially since I always recorded with my family in the house, and that used to, I used to hate that. I couldn't do it if I knew they were listening to me or if I heard them, like, especially if I started flubbing. My wife used to laugh at me because I would, in an apartment where I started YouTube, my green screen was basically just behind our dining room table, which was, an area that was attached to our living room. And so if I had to record, the kids would go in their room, Holly would go in the bedroom with the baby, and I would record seemingly by myself, knowing that other people could hear me, and I would get self-conscious, especially if I was flubbing something, like I kept just fucking up a line, I couldn't get it right like 10 or 12 times. I would have to stop for a while because I would psych myself out. But beyond that, just getting comfortable talking to a camera, it got to a point to where I realized that I was best when I would just talk naturally, when I wasn't scripting myself out, when I wasn't trying to hit certain bullet points, when I wasn't trying to sound like other people. When I just turned the camera on and talked, that's where it started to get natural for me to where I got most comfortable. And that's why I stopped using notes and everything altogether, because it just felt better that way. And so now I just talk normal, whether I'm just me by myself, I'm out and about with other people, I'm live streaming, I'm recording. It's the same voice, the same cadence, the same confidence, all of that. And you just get there by doing it. You know, I could look at some of my older videos and I could see how stiff I was and um, see how uncomfortable I was here and there, and just somewhere along the way that went away. So just by doing it. Oh, all right. Starting to get caught up. We're working our way back. Now I'm only 45 minutes behind. Hey, Cody, big fan. Never asked before. Are you much of a reader? If so, do you have any book recommendations? I'm not a reader whatsoever. I always feel bad when somebody sends me scripts or they send me books and everything because I will likely not get a chance to actually read it. Or I guess more correctly, I won't take the chance to read it. Um, I have read some books. I've read a lot of comics. I've read some graphic novels and stuff like that, but I don't particularly enjoy reading all that much. I'm much more of a visual person, so I've always taken more to the visual storytelling medium, TV and TV shows and movies, video games, things like that. But occasionally you'll get a good book out there. The last book that I read in its entirety was The Girl on the Train, which might seem odd for me. It's when the movie was coming out. I was working in construction at the time, so I had a lot of time on my hands just waiting on tests to be completed. And so I read that whole book over a couple of days leading up to the movie just to do something different. And I loved reading it. It was a great book. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, this fucking sucks compared to the book. And I got to be that guy. So that's a really good book. It's along the lines of like Gone Girl, something like that. Um, if you want comic books, I think that the Long Halloween Batman is a really good read. Uh, Old Man Logan was a really good read. The Walking Dead comics are actually pretty damn good. They're actually better than the show. They're darker than the show, more fucked up. You can believe that. Preacher is a really good comic to get into. Again, much better than the show. I didn't like the show at all. Some of that stuff. Welcome Back, Frank. Punisher. It's a really good one. So most recently, that's the stuff that I've read, but that's years ago at this point. Does it annoy you in your line of work being able to dissect movies to the point you ruin twists and see them coming? Yeah, it sucks sometimes. I was able to do that before I even started doing movies. You watch so many movies that your brain starts to kind of put things together. So yeah, I genuinely love when you get something that just absolutely surprises you. It comes out of nowhere and shocks you because there's so many times where a movie can't do that because I've seen so many that I just start to see the writing on the wall. I start to see the clues and the hints and the little narrative through lines. And I'm like, I bet this is going to happen. And then it happens. And you're like, oh, fuck. Why do I got to be so smart? So yeah, it's definitely it's a pain in the ass sometimes. Oh, righty. Where are we at? Any plans for a Resident Evil 4 remake review? I have already done one on the Cody Leach Game Chamber channel. So for those that don't know, all of my video game content is on a second channel. It's called Cody Leach Game Chamber. So go over there, hit the subscribe button. The most recent video that I've done over there is my review of the Resident Evil 4 remake. And that's where all my video game content, live streams, all of that will be in the future. Have you ever watched Queen of the Damned? When it first came out, I did. Didn't care too much for it. I'd be curious to revisit it. It is one of the entries in the polls that we put up, but oh, actually that poll is not up yet. That's a part of the bad movies poll because it's I've never really heard too many positive things said about it aside from people that just love Aaliyah. I think that was her last role. But yeah, that's going to be a part of our final poll, which will be out here in like 20 or 30 minutes. I'll drop that. So maybe I'll be rewatching it soon. What's something you know now as a YouTuber, but wish you knew before becoming a YouTuber? A lot of things. All of the lessons that I had to learn my first couple of years of what content to make and what content not to make, about how to properly manage a channel, about all the little tricks and trades that I've learned about how to edit better, more efficiently, ways to manage your channel and certain things better, how to get into certain forms of monetization better. I mean, there's all those kinds of things. Choosing your friends more carefully, that would have been valuable. And being a little bit more proactive about getting my channel sustainable where I could have gone full time a little sooner. I went full time because I kind of didn't have a choice. It was that or be absolutely miserable to the point of God knows what would have happened. And so I kind of had to just make a decision to for my own sake at that point. But I wish I would have had more confidence in myself, more confidence in my channel to push it to the point where it was sustainable a little sooner and make that leap a little sooner, because my channel has grown exponentially since I've been able to dump all my time and energy into it. And I wish I could have gotten a couple more years of that in there before I inevitably did it. So any and all of those. Elijah Isaiah, thank you so much, sir. Have you ever watched the TV show Survivor? Do I have my thing over here? Shit, where's it at? Oh well. I used to have the little head do-rag thing. I forget what the brand of it is. Yes. I never really cared to watch Survivor, and then during COVID lockdown, my wife started to watch it on like Netflix and stuff, and then I slowly got into it, and then we became Survivor whores for a while there and watched so many of the older seasons, watched a couple of the newer seasons and stuff. So I have not watched the most recent season at all. I haven't loved the new Survivor that they've come out with ever since Winners at War. But yeah, it's been a pretty big show in our household for the past couple of years. So I'm a pretty big fan of Survivor. Let me see. Cody's really behind on super chats. I'm trying. It's fucking hard. You guys just give me so much love. Seed of Chucky versus Freddy's Dead. I prefer Seed of Chucky by a razor's edge. I would rather watch Seed of Chucky than Freddy's Dead, but at that point, it's like, would you rather eat this pile of shit or drink this cup of piss? It's just like, I don't know, neither. Do you think Infinity War pulls an Alien 3 in its opening scene by undoing the victory at the end of Ragnarok? No. I mean, that's all one big gigantic story, so it's not like it's all a part of the plan. It's not really an Alien 3 where it's just like, we don't know what to do, so fuck it, they're all dead. I've been saying a lot tonight. Can you tell? That means I'm tired. Terminator Dark Fate is one that I constantly see get compared to Alien 3. That's a little bit more of an understandable comparison, but I still passionately would disagree with that. So no, I've never found Infinity War to be pulling an Alien 3. To me, that's just the next piece of the story. Fuck yeah, double toasted. Double toasted is my shit. Okay, so we're starting to get caught up. We love y'all too. Am I included in y'all? Or is it just the fans? Do they know me? Corey, you're my boy. Billy's going to be laughing hard tonight during Freddy Got Fingered. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If they're doing the bad movie roast of that one. Ooh. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Oh, shit. Oh, Corey and Martin. Corey and Martin. Been watching those guys for so fucking long. I feel like I know them. I know you don't watch many other movie channels, but do you ever watch Pitch Meeting? Ryan George is freaking hilarious. Pitch Meeting, no, I've actually never watched those. I've heard that they're funny, but as you said, I don't really watch many movie channels. People are always surprised to hear that. I spend so much time and energy and mental power, mental fucking capacity, whatever you want to call it, so much of the data that I have available in my brain, I spend talking and thinking and analyzing movies. And so when I sit down for relaxation or for entertainment, I typically don't go to movie content. I go to cooking channels primarily. That always relaxes me and gives me ideas for dinner, which is awesome. And it's one of the reasons why I've developed a lot of my cooking skills, because I watch it so much that I just absorb all this information. And so when I actually step behind the grill, I just have this encyclopedia worth of shit that I just pull out and I just execute it the way that I've seen. And then the other stuff I've gotten into a lot here recently is DIY. So now that we have our own house, I've gotten really big into building shit. And I built a swing set that, of course, is a part of a kit, so it's not completely DIY. But I built a swing set 2 Decembers ago. Last December, I built a shed, which was a hell of a task over an entire week. A couple months before that, I built a grill gazebo. Just a couple of weeks ago, me and the wife went out and I used all the scrap wood that I had left over from the shed to build my own shelf, absolutely from scratch. That was real DIY. And so I've started learning a lot about that, kind of learning about how to build foundations and all this stuff. Eventually, maybe this year, I want to build my own deck out in the backyard. I don't want to pay somebody to do it. Nothing but love for small businesses, but you motherfuckers charge too much. So I would love to be able to just measure the area that I want the deck to be, calculate how much lumber I need, get the lumber delivered, and then just build that motherfucker myself with my own fasteners, my own tools. And then I love that personal feeling of pride that I get when I look in the backyard and see that thing right there. I made that shit. That shit didn't exist until I went out there and started hammering shit together. So yeah, that's typically what I watch. But pitch meeting, no, I've never seen any of them. I've always heard good things though. That's what she said. Well, I'm 45 minutes behind, so I don't remember what I said that she said. Thoughts on Halloween show like The Offer, where it's mini series of how Halloween 78 was made and famous actors playing a cod. I've Oh, you're pitching. Okay. Thoughts on a Halloween show like The Offer, where it's a mini series of how 78 was made and famous actors playing Malika Cod, Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay. I understand what you're saying. I mean, I would like to see a form of that for quite a few movies. I haven't actually watched The Offer yet. I've heard it's good. But the idea of a TV series, uh, what the hell? Okay. I don't know if something went off, but I slammed my thing down and all of a sudden I saw a color go off on my Rodecaster. So if you heard a sound effect, that was not intended. Um, but yeah, I do like the idea of that for other movies. There's a lot of interesting movie productions out there that I think would make for really interesting TV shows. So I would be all for that. Do you do refried beans with carne asada? Sometimes. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do beans and rice. Sometimes I just do the tacos because I want to eat more tacos and not sides. What video game should never be remade? I don't think there's any of them that I would say should never be remade. There's always some things that you can improve upon with time or revisit in a certain way. I mean, all of my favorite video games of all time have either been remade or I'm asking for a remake for them. So yeah, I wouldn't say any of them. You're making me hungry. This must have been when I was answering Amanda's question about barbecue. Are you a fan of the island in RE4? It was cool in the first playthrough, but after trying to platinum the game, I dread that area every playthrough. I mean, that's always been my least favorite part of the game. Not in a sense that I hate it, but I always think the village and especially the castle are much more interesting. By the time you get to the island, it's a little bit more drab and redundant of an environment. It's not as visually interesting. It's just wet rock. And so I'm with you. It's my least favorite part of the game, but I still like it. So no, I haven't got to the point where I dread it. Did you see early Renfield reviews? Not good. Was looking forward to it. I thought it was already in like the 80s in Rotten Tomatoes. Let me look. Rotten Tomatoes, Renfield. And that's 73% with 30 reviews. So yeah, I mean, it seems okay to me so far. I'm not going to complain about that. I mean, regardless, I'm interested and I want to check it out. I don't know if that's necessarily a movie that would be a critic darling to begin with. All right, guys, it's time to post the final poll. So let me go ahead and do that really quick. Poll number 5, the bad movies. And we have as options for the final poll, we have Blade Trinity. My hope is that we get to rank all 3 of the Blade films. So you guys don't let me down with this ranking. Then we have Wes Craven's Cursed, which absolutely was a cursed production. Then we have Teen Wolf 2, followed by Abraham Oh, that's not how you spell it. I said Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And finally, Queen of the Damned. So there is the final poll for 31 on 31, the quote unquote bad movies. And it is available to vote on right now. That's the final poll. So as of right now for 31 on 31, we have the vampire and werewolf original movies where the Lost Boys running away with a landslide victory. And then we have a little bit of a slugfest between The Howling and Interview the Vampire, but it looks like Interview the Vampire is pulling ahead. Then we have reboots and sequels where Blade 2 is the big fan favorite, with Fright Night 2011 being the secondary winner. The wild, weird, and fun category with Renfield walking away with quite a bit of the vote, and Monster Squad and Van Helsing battling for second place. Currently, Van Helsing has a little bit of a lead. Horror comedy, we have Teen Wolf. God bless all of you for making that one the winner, because that's the one I wanted to talk about, with What We Do in the Shadows as the second place winner currently. And now we have the bad movies, which Blade Trinity and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter are running away with the victory after 35 votes. So we'll see how that changes throughout the days. All right, that's all of them. Can you do a top 10 Twilight Zone ranking of episodes? I have not seen enough to be able to rank them, but there is a lot of really good episodes of that original Twilight Zone. Seriously, guys, if you want just like a nice, relaxing experience, look on Netflix or whoever currently has the Twilight Zone. Maybe it's HBO Max or some shit, and watch some of those old black and white Rod Sterling episodes. Look up things like The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, or was it like Terror at 10,000 Feet? That's the one with Shatner. You have the one, fuck, what is it? Nick of Time? Is it Nick of Time? Shit, what is the episode with the little William Shatner with the little fortune teller box? That one is my favorite Twilight Zone episode. I got to look that up. Twilight Zone episode, William Shatner, fortune teller. It is Nick of Time. Okay, I was right. Nick of Time. So Nick of Time is my favorite Twilight Zone episode. But just kind of go through, I mean, they're like 30 minutes long, 20 minutes long, and some really good old stories that you can kind of see the precursors for a lot of future horror and sci-fi films. That sounds like something fun. I might do that later tonight. Thank you, Kevin Miller. I might do that. I might play a little Resident Evil 4 and then watch some fucking old school Twilight Zone. That sounds relaxing as hell. Dream Warriors or Peaches song? Peaches, 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 peaches. Hello. I can't do Jack Black. Peaches song, pick one. I gotta go Dream Warriors. Like, nothing but love for Jack Black. Nothing but love for Jack Black. But yeah. Peaches, peaches. If that shit doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, that's gonna be funny as fuck. Ian, thank you so much. Do you watch sports? If so, what sports or team? No, not a sports guy whatsoever. I'm not a sports guy. My dad was always a Lions fan, hence why I'm not a sports fan, because it was just a Sunday after Sunday after Sunday of just cussing and screaming and slamming. But no, not a sports fan whatsoever. Sorry. Can't give a better answer for that one. Have you ever seen Tragedy Girls? No. Am I just that uncultured? There's just so many things that I haven't seen or heard of, or is this just a really weird night to where most of these questions is like, I don't know what the fuck that is. No, I've never, I don't even know what Tragedy Girls is. Am I out of touch? You're out of touch. You're out of time, but I'm out of my head when you're not around. All right, it's enough. What are expectations for Ari Aster's Beau Is Here? Fucking weird. I haven't watched the trailer. I just don't know enough about the concept that it looks weird. It looks different. I appreciate that. I'm glad he didn't do an evil cult movie for 3 movies in a row. But it looks weird. If it wasn't Ari Aster, I probably wouldn't watch it. Let's put it that way. Gonna review 72 Seasons this week. If I do review it, it won't be this week. It'll be after I listen to the album for at least a week. So maybe. My Robert De Niro face, maybe. But I haven't done music reviews in a while, and I did review their last album. It just depends. It depends if the mood strikes. It depends if I have enough passionate thoughts about the album that I want to share them. What are some things on your bucket list? Meet Robert Englund and Brad Dourif and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Salma Hayek. I definitely want to get to Hollywood at some point and experience Hollywood, which is not that difficult to do. I mean, I live in the same fucking country, but I would love to go there. Aside from the fact that all of the pictures I see on social media about all the bugs and little monsters and beasts that they have makes it look fucking terrifying. I would love to visit Australia if my buddy Cosplay Chris is watching me. I've seen him in the comment section a few times. He just recently started doing a movie review channel. So Chris, if this is one of the few videos you've seen with me, you got a place to hook me up with over down under, because I'd love to come check it out, as long as there's not 8 feet spiders walking around. Let's see, what else on my bucket list? I would like to jump out of a plane at some point. I had the opportunity to do that when I worked at Gulfstream. There was a buddy of mine that was an ex-military guy that jumped like every fucking weekend. But the weekend that I was invited to go, I couldn't go. And then after that, I don't know. It was during COVID. It just kind of seemed like I shouldn't be playing with my mortality right now. But that's something I would like to do. Oh, what else would I like to do? I don't know. I haven't really thought about a bucket list stuff. I still have that like young guy immortality where I'm not like looking at the end thinking I got to do this before I leave this earth. I'm like, I got plenty of time. So I don't know. Any of those for now. I'd have to think on it to get some more. I'm so over my corporate job. Do you have any regrets taking on a full-time career with YouTube? I'm debating doing the same. It looks like a lot of work, but worth it. I don't have any regrets, but then again, I spent 6 years building the channel to be able to make that comfortable transition. It's much harder. I mean, unless you already have an established channel that I'm not aware of, it's much harder to make that decision before you start your channel. And that's one of the biggest things that I've always told people. It was what question that came up at MegaCon when they're like, how do I build a channel? How do I start a channel? How do I make a successful channel? And I always tell people, start it because you want to do it. Start it because you enjoy what you're talking about, or you enjoy making content, or, do it for a hobby. And if you're good enough at it, if you stick with it, if you're talented enough and have a little bit of luck or grace in there, then eventually you will be successful at it. But those that start it with the intention of, okay, I'm going to start my channel because I want to be famous, or I'm going to start my channel because I want it to be a 1,000,000 subscriber channel. Very, 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 very rarely will that work out. So I totally feel you on being over your corporate job. If anything else, I would say to transition to another place of work that hopefully would be a little more enjoyable for you. But if nothing else, start your channel or start your business or whatever it's going to end up being, and work at it for a while, for a couple of years, and build it that way. But have it be kind of your hobby or your secondary thing to fall on before it becomes something that you really are just diving all into. Little Nicky versus Sammy Kerr. What do you think? I'd watch it. I don't think anybody else will, but I'll watch it. How would you rank all of the Resident Evil remakes? Also, there's debate on whether Code Veronica or 5 should be remade next. Which camp are you in? I'll answer your second question first. So if I was in charge, I would say, okay, you did 2, 3, and 4, and those are kind of one story because you have the Raccoon City stuff, you introduced Leon, and now you followed it up with 4. Now we're going to remake the original and then Code Veronica and then 5, because those are one story. You have the origins with Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine and Wesker, and then you follow up the Redfields and Wesker with Code Veronica, and then you culminate it all with all of those characters in Resident Evil 5. If they jump right into remaking Resident Evil 5, that doesn't make any sense with this remake storyline that they're telling, because we don't know who Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, or Wesker are. And so you're going to do a remake to where we essentially don't know anything what's going on. I mean, those of us know that have been with the series for a long time, but the remakes are not just for us, it's for all of these newer generations people to get into Resident Evil and experience these stories in kind of a cleaner, more modern format. And so to me, it would be silly to jump right into Resident Evil 5 because the entire payoff of part 5 is culminating the story from 1 in Code Veronica. So to me, that would be stupid. So yeah, if it was me, they would. I don't even think it would make sense to do Code Veronica first. You got to do the first one. So I would remake the first one with this new Resident Evil engine with the over the shoulder camera and make that remake and then follow it up with Code Veronica and then 5. That's the way I would do it. How would I rank all of the Resident Evil remakes? Well, I like 3. I'm a defender of 3, but easily that one's the third. So you got Resident Evil 3, and I'll be honest with you, man, like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 remakes are so fucking good. It's hard to almost choose between them because they're two very different experiences. For my own personal taste, because I can't deny my love for Resident Evil 4. I'm going to go Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 4 as number 1. But Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 2 might as well be tied. They're fucking incredible. Gonna see you later, Cody. Always appreciate your point of view. Got me on YouTube to begin with. Hell yeah, Lord Cosmo. Have a good night, man. Are you a wrestling fan or were you ever? No, not really. See, I grew up in the era where Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, those were the big guys. And I always kind of liked the personality of the wrestlers more than I actually liked wrestling. I never liked watching wrestling. I never went to go see a live match. I did like playing the video games. I did like playing the PlayStation games like SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth. Those were all really fun. But no, I never really got into wrestling too much. I always liked the Hardy Brothers. Those are the ones I always like to play in the video games. Did you ever watch The Price is Right? Who hasn't? Who hasn't watched The Price is Right? When you were sick at home, you got chicken soup and you got The Price is Right. If so, what is your favorite game? What are your thoughts on Drew Carey? I haven't watched it recently enough. Drew Carey's a funny guy. I always loved him in Whose Line Is It Anyway? So I'm sure he does great, but Bob Barker is The Price is Right. So I don't think he's going to compare to that. I'm sure he does good though. Favorite game? Me and my grandma always liked Plunko. That was always our favorite, Plunko. Trying to think of another one. It's been so long since I watched it. I just remember Plunko. I always wanted to play it. I'm like, I want to drop it. I think I know the strategy. I'll say Plunko. Plinko. There we go. Is it Plinko? See, I'm saying Plunko. That tells you how long it's been since I've seen the fucking show. Whatever it is, Plunko, Plinko, where you drop the little disc and it goes down. That was always my favorite. Whose movies do you like more, Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino? Tarantino. But it's not really a fair question because Martin Scorsese has done significantly more movies than Quentin Tarantino, and he's a much more diverse filmmaker than Quentin Tarantino has been so far. And so Martin Scorsese, when he does things that really interest me, are phenomenal. Like I love Goodfellas. That's a top 5 movie of all time for me. I love Wolf of Wall Street. There's been quite a few others from Scorsese. The Departed, top 15, top 20 movie for me. So Martin Scorsese, I love some of his movies, but he's gone off and done a lot of different things. He's done kind of Oscar type stuff. He's done things like, was it Silence, about the little priests and everything that don't really interest me. Whereas Quentin Tarantino pretty much stays within his wheelhouse, and whatever he's doing, it's always interesting to me. And he's only done 9 movies at this point. So a guy who's made 9 movies and been really selective and taking his time to make them versus somebody like Scorsese who's made 30 something movies. And a lot of his movies I haven't seen yet. So it's not completely a fair question for me to answer, but of the 9 Quentin Tarantino movies, there's a better batting average in there than Scorsese for me personally. If Vanilla Ice makes a horror movie, he should call it Slice Slice Baby. Don't give him any ideas. All right, see you later, Phil. I'm not far behind you on tapping out. I was going to do 2 hours, and it's taken me 3 hours just to be able to catch up. Since you're a Survivor fan, because of your interest, I highly recommend Australian Survivor and Survivor South Africa. Some seasons are better than the US. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. Cody, love your channel. First time catching you live. Keep up the good work. Random question. Favorite Batman villain? I mean, it's hard not to say the Joker, but if I'm going to go outside of the Joker, favorite Batman villain outside of the Joker. Uh Probably, I mean, do we consider Deathstroke a Batman villain, or is he just kind of a DC character? Because I love Deathstroke. I was really, really looking forward to seeing what Ben Affleck was going to do with Deathstroke. To me, that's the villain that seems like the most fitting to go toe to toe with Bruce Wayne and actually potentially kick his ass. So I'll say Deathstroke. Favorite grunge album that's not from AIC? What the fuck? What's the name of it? Hang on. Hang on. Hang the fuck on. I would say either Super Unknown or Bad Motorfinger from Soundgarden will be my pick if I'm not allowed to pick AIC. What is your favorite Christopher Walken movie? Well, shit, he's been in a ton of them. Let's see, if we're gonna go movies just that he is like the leading man, Dead Zone is certainly in conversation. Let me look up Wikipedia here and look at his slate of films because it's very easy to forget one when you got an acting career like that man. So yeah, let's see. The Dead Zone is certainly in that conversation. True Romance, he's just in a scene, so I'm not gonna say that. Movies where he is The Prophecy is pretty cool. You know what? I mean, he's always been more of a character actor. I'm gonna say the Dead Zone. I'm gonna say the Dead Zone. Dead Zone's fucking awesome. Hey, Cody, I wanted to say thank you for getting me through an extremely dark time. You provided levity and strength when I had none, and my life has completely turned around. You played a huge role. Well, I'm glad things turned around for you. I don't know. It's always a little takes me a little bit aback whenever I hear something like that because I don't know exactly how to respond. But whatever I can do, providing content, giving you things to watch, or just acting goofy and giving you something to laugh about, if anything that I can do makes your day better or gets you through a hard time, even if it's just through the day, that means a lot to me. So I'm glad you got through it. Hope you continue to be out of it and don't slip back into it because we all slip back into those dark times eventually. Life is a bit of a yo-yo, but I'm glad everything turned around for you, and the fact that I played a role in that is awesome. So thank you, thank you for that comment. Very excited for Evil Dead Rise and The Pope's Exorcist. I know you're pumped for them as well. I'm pumped for Evil Dead Rise. I don't have much faith or interest in Pope's Exorcist, but I hope I'm proven wrong because that would be wonderful to go see 3 movies on Thursday. And I mean, all 3 of them being great would be amazing, but I think I'm going to be greedy if I expect anything more than 2 of them being really good. So I have faith that I'm really going to enjoy Renfield. I feel like Nefarious is probably going to suck. And Pope's Exorcist, I'm not very faithful in, but that one might surprise me. Where's the poll at? Oh, well, she found it, but where's the poll at? They're on my community page on YouTube. All 5 of them are active right now, so you can go over and vote in those. And Blade Trinity pulling it off with the bad movies. All right, boys, looks like we're ranking all 3 of the Blade films. Why writers of Scream 5 and 6 lack balls of not wanting to kill likable characters. It ruined Gail, Mindy, Chad scene. 7 people lived pissed. Well, spoiler alert, I guess. Yeah, I I mean, I didn't mind any of that in Scream 5, but Scream 6, it got ridiculous. The amount of plot armor that so many characters had. When you try to make a movie that is going for this is the most intense and the most vicious ghost face. There's never been one like me, Gale. Well, motherfucker, you didn't kill anybody, so your batting average sucks as a killer. So yeah, when you have a movie that's going for those high stakes and that high tension, and then you have a bunch of plot armor, it seems very combative ideas. When are you going to suffer through Freddy's nightmares? Well, the fact that you said suffer through it lets me know that I made a good decision by not making it that much of a priority. What is your favorite Australian horror movie? Oh shit. Let me Google them because I don't know which ones are from Australia. Australian horror movies. Well, I know Wolf Creek is a big one. Let's see here. The best Australian horror movies. The Babadook? The Babadook was Australian? The Loved Ones? Okay. Both of those are fucking awesome. Not recognizing the rest of these. Well, shit, those first two there. I mean, the Dead, the Loved Ones and the Babadook are both fucking great. So either of those, if that's in fact a factual list put out by Rotten Tomatoes, which I would hope. I would hope they know their shit well enough to know whether it's Australian or not. Did CP appreciate that you built a shed for him to bunk in? More importantly, did he partake in your wonderful swing set? I think CP was marveled at my entire backyard setup. And he was only out there once, the very first night he was here when I was out grilling burgers for us. But yeah, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I built that. And more than a few times when he was here, he was like, dude, can you quit being so fucking good at everything? Because you're making me feel like shit. Because I was showing him the shit that I was building, plus I was cooking things, plus I was editing really fucking fast, and then we were playing video games like Call of Duty, and I was smoking all these people. And so that's like a running gag now that he's experienced like my home and my home life, where that's his running gag. He's like, dude, fucking stop. Can't have it all. But yeah, we had a good time while he was here. We had a good time. I don't know if he's going to come back anytime soon. We exhausted him to the point that he was physically ill, but we had a good time. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that. All right, I'm getting caught up. I'm only 10 minutes behind now. Woo! What about the Resident Evil 1 remake? It's a great remake. It still holds up really well, but it's also the old school tank controls. So I think they need to make it in the Resident Evil engine. I think we need a version of the original game that plays like these current remakes. You know, that would be my vote whatsoever. The Resident Evil 1 remake that exists, that is ported over to PS4 and all that, it's still aged very well. It's still very playable, but it's those old school tank controls that a lot of people do not like nowadays. So if you didn't experience that back in the day when that was the shit, it's very hard to play those now and get past it. People just get frustrated and they're like, fuck this. I don't even want to do it. What did you do for work before YouTube? Well, let's see. Let's go through a little timeline here. So when I was 15, I worked at a video store for like maybe 4 months. I worked there the entire summer, and then maybe 1 or 2 months while school started. I ended up, I didn't really quit and I didn't really get fired. I was just kind of like forced to resign for some really bullshit reasons. So essentially there was a lot of the place was ran by a bunch of high school girls, like 18, 19-year olds, a couple of early 20-year-olds, and I was the only guy that worked there. And it was very clear that I was not a part of the clique. And the fact that I never took a lunch break, and my way of kind of compensating for that was that when school started, and I worked this out with the manager that hired me, I said, hey, when school starts, I plan on still working here, but am I able to do like homework while I'm here? Because, you know, I can't let school suffer to have a job. Yeah, it's fine. Just, you know, don't do it when people are in the store. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And so That manager ended up leaving, and rather than hire a new manager, they just kind of divided the manager responsibilities among the more senior employees there who were all 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and all females. And they didn't like the fact that I tried to do my homework. They didn't like the fact that I opened my mouth whenever I didn't agree with something. And so they kind of created this narrative essentially to the guy that owned the company, because it was just a couple of small little chains, that I didn't work. And so they sent him a video clip of me doing my homework and said, that's what he does all day long. And so the guy eventually, that he reduced my hours down to 2 days a week. And after 2 or 3 weeks of that, I asked why. And they were like, oh, you got to call the owner to find out, when they knew why. And so I called the owner and he was like, "Oh yeah, so they told me that, they showed me this video clip. Doesn't look like you do much of anything there." And I was like, I was still young. And so I wasn't as I didn't have as much of a backbone as I do as an adult. So I was kind of just taken aback and didn't really know what to say. And so I just, okay, I don't agree, but whatever. And so essentially I was told that I need to put my notice in. So I stopped working there. Then when I was 17, I went to go work at a front desk in a hotel, and which is a really good job to have if you're in if you're in high school, by the way. If you're still in school, is do hospitality. So I worked in a hotel all throughout the rest of high school, and eventually went to college, moved back home after I dropped out, started working for a skating rink here in Savannah called Star Castle. Those, if anybody's watching this from Savannah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I worked there for about a year. It was a fun job, but horribly ran place. And so eventually I left that job and started working for Target. And within a year of working for Target, I got promoted to manager, worked as a manager for 3 years. Moved on from that to construction materials testing, where you go out, like if they're going to build something, you go out to that field or that lot or that swamp or whatever the hell it's going to be, and you do soil testing, compaction testing, and water percolation testing and all that kind of stuff, to get all of the data for the actual land before they actually plan and break ground on it. Did that for 4 years. I started my channel while I was working at that company. One of the reasons I started it was because I was driving 3, 4, 5 hours a day and was listening to podcasts and stuff. And I wanted to do my own. I wanted to kind of be a part of the conversation. So that's kind of one of the reasons why this channel exists. After working at that company for 4 years, I moved over to Gulfstream, which was a really big company, and they do commercial jets, private jets, and stuff like that. And so I was building planes for a little over 3 years, and that was the job that I was at that drove me absolutely miserable by the end of it, and made me not even want to be alive. Put it that way, at the worst times. And so that was the job that I finally said, "Fuck it, I'm working for myself." So those are all of the jobs that I have held. A wild, wild little string of careers there. Tony Chappie. After rewatching Elektra Director's Cut, and I don't know about you, but I wish Marvel would start doing Elseworld stories, sort of like what James Gunn is doing with DC, just with Logan and Deadpool 3. Yeah, I really hope that eventually they start doing Elseworld stuff, because I don't feel like everything should have to be a part of a universe. I feel like they have a lot of really cool stories that could be really nice one-offs. So yeah, I mean, Elektra doesn't necessarily excite me, but there's a lot of other stories that I think they could tell that would be really interesting. That it's going to be a shame if they don't do a lot of these, because it's not going to work with their universe plans. Oh, let's see. Favorite Red Hot Chili Pepper album? I'm not a big Chili Peppers fan. Never really been. I like a few of their songs, but I don't. I've never really liked them enough to listen to whole albums, and so I can't really comment on that. My favorite song by them is Danny California. I can tell you that. You three in separate ways. I've heard the rumor, and you know what? That's kind of interesting, because that was one of the biggest bummers for me. As much as I loved everything that they actually did and everything they put into the Resident Evil remake, the fact that you three was omitted bummed me out, because that was one of my favorite sections of the game. But if they're incorporating that into the Ada DLC, that'll make up for it. So that'd be cool. Mean girl behavior is so weird. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I there's so many things in my past that I wish I could revisit with my current personality, because I was so timid and I was so quiet and I was so reserved and, was kind of afraid of confrontation for a long time that I just kind of let people walk all over me. And, maybe that's part of the reason why I've shifted so far the other direction as an adult. But, yeah, that was a really stupid situation that I got really mistreated on. So I don't know. There's a part of me that would love to go back to a lot of different events in my life with my current personality and be like, "What, motherfucker?" Like the question we were answering when to kick this whole thing off about my worst teacher, just going back into those times, be like, "You said what?" Ozzy Osbourne made a cover of Rocky Mountain Way in his Undercover album. I remember hearing the Joe Walsh version of Rocky Mountain Way in Joe Dirt, and Godsmack actually recorded a cover of that song as well. So apparently that's a popular song to do your own version of. I love Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt's a great comedy. Sequel sucked. Blood and Honey is entertaining in a bad way. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I strongly disagree. Let's see here. Thoughts on the Mummy movies? I've only seen the Brendan Fraser ones, but I love the original Mummy from 1999. I enjoy The Mummy Returns quite a bit. It's got its flaws, and I did not like the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, whatever the third one is. That one's not good. Are you going to do weekly reviews for Barry? No, no. I haven't even talked about Barry on this channel, so it doesn't make any sense for me to do that. But weekly reviews on shows are exhausting. Even for things like The Last of Us that I loved, it was exhausting. So I much prefer to just do a season review at the end of it. But I don't even know if I even have an audience of people that want to hear about Barry. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do a ranking of the seasons or some way to talk about the show. I definitely want to. But sometimes you can just look at something and can tell, like, yeah, nobody's going to click on this. What's your take on Clayface being the potential main villain in the Batman sequel? It's out of the box. I like it. I like it, especially they're going to have to do a more grounded version of it. So that makes me curious on the creativity side of things. Why would you make me choose between your AMA and the Mario movie? Go see the Mario movie. I'll be here. Come rewatch the rewatch later. Go enjoy the Mario movie. You gonna buy the Scream 6 Steelbook? If it looks cool. If it looks cool. I don't take bullshit as an adult that I did as a teenager. Yeah. Somewhere around my early 20s, it's like my balls dropped. Like, I was just always more of a quieter person. I don't know if it's because my dad was always strict or if it was just my personality type or what, but I was always kind of more of a I always took more of a submissive role to where I just didn't really want a conflict. So it's like, whatever, I'll just do it. Or if somebody was bullying me, it's just like, whatever, I'm just going to ignore them. And then somewhere around my 20s, I just start to get to the point where I was like, no, fuck that. And kind of took more of that approach. And it's gotten much more that way as I've gotten older. You get older, you get bigger, you get more confident, you have a lot more experiences in life that you look back on where you're just like, no, I can say what the fuck I want. So yeah, as a teenager, I put up with a lot of shit and younger that as an adult, I absolutely do not. I'm still pretty tolerant. I'm still pretty, I don't go out looking for confrontation. I still don't like confrontation just because it's just like, God, that doesn't help anybody. But if it has to happen, then I'm there for it. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. Just got here. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the upcoming Saw 10. I know you don't like the series, but I'm just wondering what you think of this one. Well, I don't know anything about it. I heard somebody, maybe it was 3C, that said something at MegaCon where it's going to be like a movie that takes place between the first and second movie or something like that, so that they can make John Kramer the lead character again. I don't know, man. Like the Saw movies, this is gonna be the third reboot attempt in a row. And Jigsaw was a giant swing and a miss. Spiral had some good things about it, but wasn't a complete knockout either. And now it's just like, oh, well, we're just gonna, just make another one that, somewhere in that story, John Kramer's there. On paper, I have no interest in that. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be interesting once I see the trailer and get more of an idea for the story. But that just seems like a franchise that's been bled dry for the last 5 installments. And so, no, not a lot of interest or faith in that one. All right, see here. Hey, what's up, Marcy? Hey. Steve Austin was in Grown Ups 2. I never seen Grown Ups 2. Towards the end of the movie, I love how him and Adam Sandler were about to get into a fist fight with each other. I didn't like the first Grown Ups, so I never saw the second one. I actually went to go see the first Grown Ups drunk at a friend of mine that I worked with at that Star Castle skating rink that I told you about. That we both went and got a bunch of Mexican food and margaritas and got inebriated. Then walked over to the movie theater and watched the first Grown Ups and just sat there in absolute disbelief at how unfunny the movie was. And we ended up leaving right after the part with the water park because we were just bored to tears. Eventually, I watched the rest of the movie. I still didn't think it was very good. But yeah, fun fact. If you can't laugh at a movie when you're drunk, then it's not a funny movie. Whoops, didn't mean to select it again. All right, let's see. I'll go to 3:15. 3 hours and 15 minutes, guys. So about another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to head out. This has been a great Q&A. Thank you so much for all of the super chats. It was exhausting just trying to just trying to catch up. It was insane. So thank you guys so much for that. Or staggered to the movie theater. It wasn't that bad. I was always pretty good about not getting that bad. Your thoughts on Happy Birthday to Me? I've never heard you mention it because I've never seen it. I have it. It's over there. Just haven't actually watched it. It's weird because that's one of those horror movies where the cover is so iconic. But from what I understand, the cover has nothing to do with the movie. Like the guy with the little fucking kebabs, like that's not actually in the movie from what I understand. That's just like a random thing that's on the cover. But yeah, I've never seen it. I bought it, then forgot about it. Do you bench or deadlift in the gym? And if so, what's your personal record for weight lifted? I have actually never lifted to max. I've always just done sets. I've never lifted to max, so I don't know. But yeah, I do variations of bench. I don't do any deadlifts. To be honest with you, I'm not very educated on how to do deadlifts and things like that, so certainly would not attempt it by myself. But typically I'll do like on chest day for bench, I'll use the chest machine and I alternate between chest and back exercises on that day. So I'll do the chest machine, I'll do a pull down, and then I'll go over to a bench and I'll use dumbbells and I'll do an incline bench with dumbbells, and then I'll do a close grip pull down, and then I'll go back over to bench and I'll do a complete flat bench with dumbbells, and then I'll go and do rows and things like that. So I do the bench, but deadlift, no. I've did that back in gym class way back in the day. I know the basic movement for it, but it's a very easy movement to fuck yourself up if you don't know what you're doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. So let's see here. What's your next video game let's play? Jedi Survivor? No, I'm gonna do at least one more Resident Evil. So I'm currently going through professional mode, trying to get an S plus rank. I don't want to live stream that because it's very hard and stressful and frustrating. I don't want to go through that experience live. But once I beat it at an S plus, then I have to do a run through with just knives and pistols. Without using a healing element and without talking to the merchant. I'm gonna try to do all of those in one playthrough, and I'll probably stream that playthrough. But Oh, it is in the movie? Okay, okay, okay. I'm misinformed then. I was like, "What did I say?" But yeah, I'll do at least one more of those, and then Jedi Survivor is just around the corner, so I'll definitely be streaming that one as well. So you'll get at least one more Resident Evil one. More Spiral sequels or Saw sequels in your opinion? I would have been more interested in a follow-up to Spiral than another Saw movie because Spiral I felt like laid a decent groundwork. It just wasn't um it wasn't completely well done. But it set up enough interesting things that I would have been curious to see it followed up. Have I seen the 1986 movie House? Absolutely. It's an awesome movie. I love House. I got a t-shirt of it that I wear. It's got Big Ben on it. But yeah, definitely go check out House. It's a good old campy movie. Let's see. Are you more introverted or extroverted? Absolutely introverted. I'm not cripplingly introverted. Like I can hold conversations. I can be very social with people when I meet them in person and everything. Like I don't have any discomfort or reservations or jitters about social interaction or whatever, but I do like to be indoors. I do like to kind of have my quiet isolation time. I do get very physically exhausted by social interaction. Like me and my best friend could not be more different. My best friend Zach, who I've been friends with since high school, he is the definition of extrovert. He likes to party. He likes to be around as many people as possible. He makes friends with everybody and anybody within seconds. Every time I go over to his house, there's somebody new there that's like his new current it person that he's hanging out with. And the more people, the better. You go to a party at his house or whatever, the more people that keep showing up, the happier he is. I could not be more the opposite of that. I would much rather have like one group of friends over or one couple and just have a night with them versus a bunch of different people. When I go out to things like MegaCon, as much fun as I had and as much as I enjoyed meeting everybody, I will be physically exhausted for 2 or 3 days after that experience. And even just social interaction, something that's weird about introverts that extroverts never understand is that it really will exhaust your body. Like if you get dragged out to a party, if you're more of an introvert and your extrovert friends are pulling you out to a party, just being around other people will exhaust you, where extroverts thrive on that. So I'm definitely much more in the introvert side, but I'm not the type of introvert to where I have to like turn a switch on to be able to interact with people. You know, like when I'm at MegaCon and everything, I'm still able to be myself and have fun and meet everybody and have conversations and enjoy it. And I'm not like putting on a show. Whereas a really, really bad introvert, they kind of have to turn on a character to be able to interact with other people. So I'm a healthy version of an introvert, I guess. Oh, shit. Okay. We got 3 more minutes. Let's see what we got here. What we got here. Oh, we got a super chat. Thoughts on Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves? What did you think he should do next after John Wick? I hope he doesn't do a similar character in another different movie, just like Liam Neeson after he did the Taken movies. I don't imagine he'll do that. Knock Knock, I thought it sucked. I thought it started out really interesting, but it's just got really weird and goofy. I don't think Eli Roth is very good at directing actors or writing dialogue. I just don't. My favorite movie that he's ever done is the Death Wish remake with Bruce Willis, and most people hate that movie. So yeah, not a fan of Knock Knock. Although that did give us Anna de Armas, so I guess there is some good about it. After John Wick, what I want him to do, I want him to, let's see, can't revisit the Matrix because we tried that and fucked that up, in my opinion. Um, I'm curious. I would like to see him revisit Point Break. That character somehow. I would like to see him revisit that. Point Break is my favorite Keanu movie, and, obviously, we don't have Patrick Swayze anymore. His character technically died at the end of the first movie anyway. There's fan theories that he didn't, but regardless, I would like to see Johnny Utah make a little return and do something else. So that'd be my pick. Agreed. My dream was to be a chef, which I did. Hospitality biz is hell. Much happier once I started banking on myself. Props to you for doing the same. Awesome, Troy. Do you know who Don Patrick is? He's been in a lot of Adam Sandler movie Dan Patrick. He's been in a lot of Adam Sandler movies. Dan Patrick. Yes. I haven't watched anything like the Dan Patrick Show is what it's showing here, but yeah, I recognize his face. I recognize him from I see his face and I immediately think of Chuck and Larry, where the guy's stuck upside down on the roof and he's like, "Wait, are you guys the two gay guys?" Like, "Oh, well, you'll be nice and happy because the guy that over there is stuck in the thing, his ass is still hanging out for you." That's the line that I think of when I see his face. Oh, let's see. Hey, Jason. Cody, you're my favorite YouTuber. Changed my screen name from John Smith to Jason Carpenter. When I first made YouTube, I never thought I would meet such an awesome horror community. Oh, kick ass, dude. Kick ass. Washing machine, just over and over and over again. What is the significance of that? What is the significance of that? Is that like a thing where like they got to try to get the host to say it and then they high five each other? All right, Toxic Gamer. We'll see you next time. Let's see here. Oh, have you been watching Succession? I have not seen a single episode of Succession. I've heard a lot of people saying it very praising it here recently. So apparently it's worth checking out, but no, have not seen it. All right, do we got any more? About to wrap it up here. Um okay. Well, that's a good spot to end as any. So, why does your hair look fake today? I don't, well, what looks fake about it? It's real. I didn't put any product in it or do anything with it. I'm just fucking hanging out. So, I don't know. Maybe that's why it's not all finessed up and it's just still look fake. Still look fucking fake. Anyway. Thank you. Oh, damn. Snuck one in while I'm fucking around. Check out Happy Birthday to Me. Underrated. Okay. I will. I'll put it on the list. The massive list. Good night, bro. Have a good night. Hey, thank you guys so much. All right. Well, thank you to everybody that participated in this AMA. I try to do these at least once a month, but what's on the schedule next? I'm getting to that. Patience, motherfucker. But no, try to do these once a month or so, but it felt like a good time to do one. I haven't done one in a while. So thank you guys so much. Been a lot of really good, interesting questions here. A ton of super chats. Thank you so much for that. I was over an hour behind. I don't remember the last time I've been that far behind on an AMA. But thank you to everybody. If anybody here is still here from MegaCon, it was awesome meeting all of you guys. I'll keep you updated on what is coming in the future. Be sure to please check out the polls that we have on my channel community page and get your vote in for um the 31 on 31. And it looks like John Flickinger is live. So everybody that watches John Flickinger, immediately go over to his live and say, just came from Cody Leach's live because he told me to. So we'll do that little, what's that Twitch thing? Raid. Go raid his channel. So yeah, go send some praises over there. But participate in the polls. Let me know what your thoughts are. We got 31 on 31 coming in May, and it should be a fun one. And what is on the docket? So I have a Ben Affleck ranking where I rank all of his directed movies that should be out in a couple of days. And that's just pending sponsor approval. So hopefully tomorrow. I also have a ranking of all the movies I saw in March, of which there are 10 of them. So that's also pending a sponsor approval. I have a lot of sponsors this week. I'm behind because of MegaCon. Then we have Nefarious, Renfield, and Pope's Exorcist. Absolutely doing a review of Renfield. And depending on how the other two go, I'll either review both of them or just one of them. And then I'm going to try to squeeze out a review of Big Trouble in Little China. That's the one that keeps getting pushed and yanked, but I have that written down. And to follow through with the werewolf and vampire theme that we're building up to for the end of May, I have plans to review the American Werewolf movies as well as the Blade trilogy, and I'll probably do some more in May. But that is on the docket for right now. And yeah, Then we'll also probably do a few more things on the gaming channel that I haven't decided yet, either just live streaming or I might do some kind of a Resident Evil ranking. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much. Oh, we got your thoughts on Chris Rock roasting Will Smith. I thought it was fucking hilarious. It was brutal, but it wasn't nearly as brutal as he could have been. So Will Smith and Jada's got to take their licks and fucking own it. Thank you guys for watching. Everybody have a good night. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It's a strange video to find me on, but if you did find me, subscribe. God damn it. Everybody, enjoy yourselves.